The very part of you that has been holding you back and causing the suffering is the same part that can be programmed for empowerment. So, what I mean by that is going back to fear. The theme of my speech to all of you is fear, and I'm very passionate about this. Little bit about me, I am here for you. This is your time to make positive changes. In the years that I've been doing this, I've done thousands of sessions to help countless people with depression and anxiety. I help people stop smoking in one session with a lifetime guarantee. Now, these are people that have smoked 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and I get them to stop in one session. And when people try to do it on their own, willpower, gums, and patches have about a 30% success rate. And with me, it's about a 94% success rate. Resolve past traumas, sleep well, overcome fears, improve sports performance, learn to love themselves, increase confidence, and connect to their greatness. So these are the ways that I've helped people over the years. I also have a book. I wrote a book. It's coming out, yay, in about a month. And I worked so hard on it. Man, this thing took about 1 billion hours to write because I wanted it to be the best book that is out there, the best possible book to help people conquer fear. So that will be out very soon. Okay, so before we define mental health, I brought up necessary fear, right? The kind of fear it's meant to keep us safe and alive. It's that fight or flight when we are in need of it, when there's a literal life threatening situation. So, what is unnecessary fear? Yep, it's all the rest. Unnecessary fear is all the types of fears that we don't need. It's the kind of fear that holds us back from going for it. It's the kind of fear that keeps us from thriving. It's the kind of fear that causes us a tremendous amount of suffering. And by that, I mean fear as stress, anxiety, worry about the future, what ifs. All of these are types of unnecessary fear. So we're going to dive into that in a moment. Now, I want you to ponder this question. How do you define mental health? So I brought up a little bit about what that is to me. I have helped countless people with depression and anxiety. And you know what I've discovered by working with so many people who struggle with depression and anxiety? That fear is really the core issue there. It's all different types of fears manifesting as depression, anxiety, and a number of other things guilt, shame, anger, hate, and so forth. Those are types of fear. So after years and years of working with people, I realized, you know what? It's all fear. It's just different types of fear, different forms of fear, different ways that it emerges in people. And so that's why I wrote a book about fear. It's all about those things. All right. So, how do you define mental health? To me, mental health is having healthy perspectives about the way that we define and interpret what happens in our lives. So, in my book, and I'm going to share with you, when we have feelings, that is a guidance to us, isn't it? We oftentimes make decisions and live our lives very much based on feelings, but those feelings are generated by thoughts. So when I have clients that are struggling, I say, when you're having certain feelings of depression and anxiety, you got to go back and go to your thoughts. What thoughts am I having? And the thing is, you don't have to believe your thoughts. Here's where it gets interesting. Our mind is always generating thoughts. Sometimes our mind is generating worst case scenarios that don't even exist. We call those what ifs, right? What if this? What if this? It causes fear. But the thing is, we don't have to believe our thoughts. It's also important to realize that your thoughts are generated from your beliefs. Our beliefs are everything. Our beliefs are what we experience in life, right? Our beliefs are really our true reality. What we believe to be true is true for us. So let me go through that chain of events again, because this is really the essence of mental well being and just feeling good and getting the life that we want. First, you have beliefs. Well, going back, first, you have ideas that become beliefs, and your beliefs create thoughts, and your thoughts are what create the feelings. So, for example, it's not what's happening in our lives that determines the way that we think and feel. And it's the way that we believe. So, for example, let's say that you had 1,000 people around the world who all went through the exact same experience. And after that, you went and interviewed all those 1,000 people and you say, "Tell me about your experience. What was it like?" What's going to happen? You're going to get 1,000 different answers, right? Because it's not what happens, it's the way that we believe and think and feel about what happens. And that is all about the way that we interpret the meanings that we assign to events. So to me, mental health is having healthy perspectives, meanings, and definitions of what happens around us or inside of us that works best for us to thrive. All right, let's talk about feelings and emotions. I brought that up a little bit. Feelings are a result of our thoughts, which are a result of our beliefs. So here's an interesting question that I bring up in my book. I want you to ponder this. What is the purpose of our emotions? Well, there's several, but I like to think of the purpose of emotions and our feelings is to guide us. Because, like I mentioned a little bit ago, we make many decisions. We live our lives heavily revolved around the way that we feel about things. So, feelings and emotions help guide us. Now, here's the thing, some of our emotions we don't like, right? I don't know very many people or anyone that loves negative emotions, and people will go to great lengths to not feel those emotions that they don't like. So, for example, when I do have smokers come in, they turn to smoking as a way to cope. Oftentimes, if they're having stress or just driving, cigarettes become their friends. They just turn to it, it's their go to. And that's not a healthy way, right? Because when you're having a bad day and you turn to cigarettes, you're just training your subconscious, your nervous system, hey, this is my friend when I'm stressed. And then there are other ways of coping, right? Where things are actually good for us. So even the types of emotions that people typically don't like, such as, past traumas, traumatic feelings, sadness, depression, even those are guiding us. It's letting us know that something in our life needs to be fixed. So it goes with fear. Now, fear, when it's necessary fear is warning us, right? Hey, be careful, this could hurt you. Because the job of our subconscious mind is to keep us alive and safe. And that can be good and bad. And I'll get into that in just a minute. For now, you have to understand that to empower yourself and to conquer fear, one of the things to understand is that it's just a feeling. You don't need to be afraid of fear and you don't need to let it stop you because it's just a feeling, plain and simple. So, another question, just to have fun with this, what would your life be like without fear? Let's say that you were completely fearless and I'm talking unnecessary fear, right? We want the kind that keeps us alive. But what would your life be like without unnecessary fear, the kind that's been holding you back and causing you suffering? There's probably a lot of answers that come to you because when I ask clients that come into me, I'll ask them that and they'll say, "Oh, man, my life would be so much better. I would be confident. I would be successful. I would have better relationships. I would do all the things in life that I want to do." So, when you think about what your life would be like without fear, have fun with that. Imagine all the positive possibilities of your life without unnecessary fear. Okay, now I'm going to go over a few things that I think really help. And I use these with clients and it comes up in my book, but there's so much. This is just a very few of the things that can destroy fear. Love. Now, to me, love is the opposite of fear. Love is very high on the vibrational frequency spectrum. Higher is good, higher is better. Enlightenment is one of the highest. And enlightenment has everything to do with love. So, love is the opposite of fear in energetic spectrums and just in what it does for us. Love empowers and love expands. Fear causes us to contract and it causes our world to contract. So, love is a huge fear destroyer. And my message is love over fear because love is far stronger and far more powerful than fear. Another is gratitude, optimism. Fear hates optimism. And optimism, I just love it. It's the kind of state of being where we just believe in the best. We trust the future. Laughter. Everyone loves to laugh, right? We love to laugh. And laughter is a great fear destroyer. When we're laughing, we're not feeling the fear. Courage, of course. Courage is letting go of the fear and doing it anyway. Another thing that I love to use personally and that I bring up a lot in my book is the saying, let this be your mantra from here on out, because it's served me very well. I'm not going to let fear stop me. I use that a lot. And I even should probably use it sometimes more than I do because there are still situations that I'm still working on. But I am not going to let fear stop me. Now, I first brought this up, it was probably about 20 years ago. I used to be terrified to go into the ocean because I loved sharks. I studied, I knew a lot about sharks. And so I knew too much, right? So for years and years, I never went into the ocean and I lived in Florida for many years. Well, one day I stood up tall and I gathered my courage and I said, you know what? I'm not going to let fear stop me. And I got into the ocean. I had the best time. No shark sightings. Nothing happened. It was just wonderful. And so that was the beginning of me using that as one of my mantras in life. I am not going to let fear stop me. And I've used it many times, actually. In fact, last summer, guess what I did? I actually went shark diving, cage free, no cage. I actually went swimming with sharks on purpose. So that's how it served me. And I want it to serve you. When you are faced with something that you know could really be good for you, something that you would love to do, but you're super afraid you're letting fear stop you, stand up straight and tall and say, I'm not going to let fear stop me and do it anyway. One more example I have for you that's kind of fun. So a few years ago, I went to Africa and I was in Kenya. We were on safari and they said, okay, you can get out and be amongst the zebras. There was warthogs, there was all these cool animals. And they said, you can get out, but be warned that there's black mambas and vipers. Now, snakes have been my phobia my whole life. And there was tall grass, mind you. So you couldn't see very far. I thought, oh man, what am I going to do? And then I remembered, I said, okay, Amy, you're in Kenya. You've wanted to come here for 30 plus years. You're finally here. What are you going to do? So I said, I'm not going to let fear stop me. And I got out and I wandered around and I saw the zebras and I was outside for about 2 hours, no snake sightings. In fact, I've gone back to Kenya since then and I've never seen a snake there ever. So it's a good thing that I didn't let fear stop me. And I want that to happen for you. And I'm not saying that you should go be around dangerous animals. I'm simply saying that when you're faced with a choice that you feel like you would love to do, then use that. Something that you know would be good for you. Start that business or do the thing that you've let fear hold you back. Just don't let it stop you anymore. Okay. So I have a few little techniques that I want to use. And
I love
havening.
that. Amy, you
Yeah.
are unbelievable. So you really manifested no snakes in Kenya. So if someone goes to Kenya and you do not see a snake, I'm telling you, it is best that you think, Amy, you are unbelievable. So you're showing that the mind is literally as powerful as we all read and hear about. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, the mind is everything, because it's our whole existence revolves around our mind, the way that we believe, think, and feel, right? It's
Wow.
everything.
So I have a question for you. And then I'm
Yes,
going to bring some of the ladies back on as well. What I would like is because I know you have some techniques. How many do you have?
I have two,
Just two?
havening and another one coming up in a little bit.
Right. What is it called?
The other one doesn't really have a title. It's just uh, a hypnosis exercise.
Oh my gosh. Wait, are you saying that you have a hypnotic exercise for us?
Yes. So
Oh my goodness.
havening is not hypnosis, but a lot of hypnotists use havening, and I have my own version of it. And then, yeah, upcoming is a wonderful, very pleasant, very life changing hypnotic exercise.
I love it. Okay, so two things.
Yeah.
Amy Cofer, the happy hypnotist. Okay, so now that you explained havening, that's great. I would like to move the audience right into the exercise because I love when you do this. They are going to be floored. So when you get a chance, I want you to go ahead, come full screen, and let's go into this exercise, Amy.
Okay. So do you want me to do havening and the hypnotic or just go to the hypnotic?
We want to go to the hypnotic. You are Amy, the
Okay.
happy hypnotist.
Okay.
Wow.
Before I jump into that, let me quickly explain to those joining, to those that are with us, a little bit about hypnotherapy because those at home might be a little nervous to participate. They might be a little nervous about, well, I'm home. What if I get stuck in hypnosis? Or what if Amy has me do something weird, like cluck like a chicken? So let me just quickly put your mind at ease that you can't get stuck in hypnosis, okay? That it's a very natural process. People go in and out of hypnosis all the time. It's a very natural. If you've ever daydreamed, if you have ever driven somewhere and then you get to your destination and you don't know how you got there, that's road hypnosis. So just know that you can't get stuck in it and it's perfectly safe and it works great. It works with the unconscious mind. And I've just got a couple things here. Its job is to keep you alive and safe, which I mentioned. That's both good and bad. How is it bad? Because by trying to keep you safe all the time, that's what's holding you back. Because your unconscious is saying, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, don't do that. It could cause trouble. So that's related to fear. Okay, it can process millions of pieces of information, memories, emotions, imagination, and habits. See all the things that are in the unconscious? And now it makes sense why I can help people with those things, transform their memories, dissociate. Why does it work so well? I'll just quickly go over that. It's because it works with the subconscious, because things that are habits, emotional related, and memories are in the subconscious. So, what we're doing is solving subconscious problems in the subconscious mind rather than trying to solve subconscious problems with the conscious mind, which is talk therapy. All righty. Skipping ahead then, please know that every one of you that participates in this, you will benefit from this. You will feel great. It will benefit you in many ways. Okay, first thing I'm going to have you do, everyone just get comfortable, put your feet down, anything off your lap. All right, focus on my voice now and take a deep breath in. Release. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes and focus on my voice and relax. Clear your mind. Let go of all cares, worries, and concerns. Relax all the muscles in your body from the top of your head all the way down to the ends of your toes. Now notice your breathing, the gentle rise and fall of your chest as that breathing happens all by itself. Anytime that I desire to relax you further, I will simply say the words, sleep now. Whenever you hear me say those words, you will go deeper, more relaxed. So, in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And on the number 3, your eyes will open. You will feel fantastic in every way. As soon as you hear me say the word sleep now, your eyelids will close back down, your body will relax, and you will let go far more than you have now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, eyes open, feeling fantastic in every way. Take a deep breath in, release, sleep now, way down. Eyes closing, body relaxing, letting go. As you go deeper, you're going to feel better and better. So you begin to smile because as you go deeper and feel better, that good feeling just starts to rise in you. Your favorite feeling begins to emerge. Your favorite feeling, your favorite emotion begins to fill every part of you. Your mind and body has approximately 65 trillion cells. And you now allow that great feeling to enter and become a part of all those 65 trillion cells. In fact, you will notice those cells open up to drink in this great feeling, this positive feeling that you love. It's your favorite feeling. You now allow love and happiness to fill you, and you smile. There's a part of you way down that just knows now that you are going to smile and laugh much more from here on out for the rest of your life. As you go deeper and feel better, you're going to notice something interesting that in your mind's eye, you picture yourself outside. As you picture yourself outside, you notice that in front of you is fear, and fear is about 10 feet tall. And fear has arms and legs and a neck and a head and an ugly, mean face. And fear is being a real jerk, pointing its finger into your face and saying, "You think that you can conquer me? I can make you be afraid. I can control you." Well, you're not going to take this? Absolutely not. You are amazing, phenomenal, incredible you. You are not going to take this. So you stand up boldly. You stand up straight and tall, and you start to show that fear who's boss. You start to show that fear that you are far stronger and far more powerful. And you begin to notice that as you do that, fear begins to shrink. Fear begins to get a little smaller. So stand up even taller, even straighter, with boldness. Show that fear that you are the boss of you, that you are far stronger and far more powerful, and that it's not going to have any effect in your life from here on out. And it gets smaller. It gets smaller and smaller. So keep going. The more that you show it who's boss, the more that you show it that you are the amazing, strong, powerful one, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. Keep going. Keep showing it who's boss. Keep showing it that you are the boss, that you are the powerful, strong one. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller. Tiny. Its voice gets amusingly high like a cartoon. And it gets so tiny. Just keep going. Keep showing it that you're the strong, powerful one. And it gets so tiny that you can barely see it hiding behind a blade of grass. And now you laugh with joy as you take your feet and you stomp on it and you smash it into the ground and you destroy it completely. You destroy it so much that it never has any power to control you again. It has lost all power over you. Keep going, smash it, stomp on it, smash it into the ground till it is completely destroyed. Now that we've done that, I'm going to have you just celebrate that you have conquered fear. But now we're going to connect to your incredible greatness. So, for fun, I'm going to have you imagine that part of you that's inside of your body. As you know, your body is temporary.
Mm.
Who you really are is eternal. You're this amazing, phenomenal energy that's inside, this eternal energy that's bright, it's strong, it's powerful. So, just for fun, I'm going to have you imagine that you can reach inside of yourself. You actually take your hand and you reach inside of yourself and you pull that part of you, your highest self, out and stick him or her in front of you, just a few feet. And in your mind's eye now, you can see who you truly are. There's your greatness. There's the real you. Now, let yourself learn and just take a moment to notice how that you is bright and powerful and confident. The light just radiates out of him or her. Love is just everywhere. That you is so full of love that it's just almost palpable. That is the real you. That's who you've always been underneath all along. So just take one moment and let that you tell you all the great things or show you all the great things about yourself. And really notice how phenomenal you are because that's you. And when you're ready, when you feel satisfied that you know who you are, as much as you know that the sun comes up every morning, then I'm going to have you step into that you. Become one with that you. You two are infused. You've become one with that you. And from here on out, you know who you are. Knowing who you are makes you fearless, prosperous, and living your optimal life. And then once you have infused, once you've become one with that incredible, highest, real you, you're going to notice this beautiful mirror. It's full length, this gorgeous full length mirror. And look into that mirror, and you notice that it's a magical mirror that has the ability to show you yourself in the future. And it shows you yourself in a year from now. And you can see that because you know who you are, because you conquered
Hey.
fear, how much better your life has been.
Mm. I
Then
need
it
you to
shows you
repeat that.
yourself in 5 years from now,
Amy, I'm gonna need you
10.
to repeat
Yeah.
that sentence. You have to repeat that sentence. Yeah, yeah. You're saying some really powerful things, and by the emotions and things of that nature, I need you to repeat that last sentence again, that it is showing you who you really are.
In the mirror or before the mirror?
Yes, no, in the mirror. Talk about the
Okay.
mirror, that reflection.
Yeah. So you can see who you are. It shows you in a year from now that because you know who you are, because you've known for a year, it's your life has been amazing. With that perspective, remember that I brought up that life is all mental health, wellness is all about our perspective. So, with this perspective of knowing who you are, as much as you know that the sun comes up every morning, how much better your life has been. It shows you that for this upcoming year, your life is immeasurably better because you know who you are. It shows you yourself in 5 years from now, and you can see that you still have con- con- continue to thrive, prosper, live optimally because you've known who you are. And the mirror can show yourself in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, all the way up until your last breath on earth, that because of this moment, your life has been phenomenally, immeasurably better. Knowing who you are has changed everything for the better. And your mind opens up to all the positive possibilities of your life going forward now. So I'm going to count in just a moment. I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the number 3, you will open your eyes, you will smile, you will stand up straight or at least sit up straight, knowing your power, your greatness. Here we go. 1, starting to become more aware of the room. 2, feeling absolutely amazing in every way. And 3, eyes wide open, fully alert, feeling fantastic in every way.
Woo!
All right.
Oh,
Thank you
wow.
so much.
Ooh. Mm.
And I have a wonderful free gift for all of you. Thank
Yay.
you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. Here's my Stan Store link or the QR. If you're on your phone watching this, then you can just type in the link or I can put it in the chat. And I've got a free gift for you, the free happiness guide. There's also some goodies for you to step into your power even more. One is called my Optimized Greatness Program. Now, I have sold many of these. I've done many of these programs with many people, and it is life-changing for you or someone that you know. I've had friends who have sent their adult kids to me, their children that, are in their 20s that just struggled so much with self-esteem, with confidence, and it's completely turned their lives around. So it's 8 hypnotic sessions, and you can find it on that Stan Store. And there's also a referral. If you refer someone to do this program, you get $500. So thank you so much. There's my Stan Store link again. And by the way, this program is worth 5,000, but
Wow.
you'll notice that I'm giving you an incredible discount of 19.99. And
Wow.
I've sold it for several thousand, and I've had so many people just say it's worth every penny because it is. I've made sure of it.
Wow.
I have put everything into this program that I've learned from the best of the best to make sure that you get what you want out of it and move forward in the most positive way possible. It's got all the best.
Wow.
So thank you. There's my number, my website, and please jump on that Stan Store, just if nothing else, but for the free gift. But there's so many other things. I've got audios for you to increase your confidence, audios to sleep, audios for a number of life-changing things that improve your life.
Wow.
So thank you so
Amy,
much.
Amy, Amy, you literally tapped into the hearts, into the minds of the people. Your information, your style, your technique, your voice. It is so hypnotizing.
Thank you.
Well, we had a blast. I'm going to bring in some of the ladies. I know that some people have some questions.
Sure.
We are going to allow just 2 questions. So you can put your question in the chat or you can come to the stage. I'm going to bring up a couple of ladies. I see we have Dr. Sonia, who literally just joined all the way from Dubai. We have Shauna Simmons. We have Jen Chavez, all the way from Argentina. Dr. Angie is in the building. Let me pull up Dr. Angie and let's pull up Anna Lee. Anna Lee, come on, Anna Lee, come on up. Yes, Anna Lee says, way to go. Love you and all you do. Fantastic. All righty, Dr. Joyce, come on to the forefront, ask your question, and then we're going to move on. Awesome. There's Dr. Joyce. So, Dr. Joyce, you just heard not just what she said, but what she did to our minds and to our spirits and our souls to literally relax us. Like, man, I didn't want to come out of it. So, Dr. Joyce, You have a question or a comment or anything for the happy hypnotist, Amy Cofer? Over to
Well,
you.
first, I wanted to say it was a really wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
And what you're doing to help people change their relationship with fear and letting that take over their life, I think is just miraculous. And
Thank
it
you.
is something that, yes, is life changing. Because when fear rules us, you're right. We can't move forward and live our best life. And so the work that you're doing, I think, is just tremendous to help people move forward with their best life. And I also really liked what you said about finding that piece of yourself, that authentic piece of yourself that hasn't been crushed by all the fears, finding that and really bringing that out and looking at it and then becoming that because that's who you really are. And so I just wanted to commend you on a wonderful presentation and on the work that you're doing because I can see how it can help so many people.
Thank you so much. You're a sweetheart.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Joyce. That is amazing. So I'm just reading in the chat right now, Amy, and you can't see it. What a wonderful presentation. Yes, yes, they are. Well said. Love it. Yes, way to go, Amy. Love you and all you do so much. This was phenomenal. This was amazing. And tons of heart, Amy. So thank you for being here. All right, ladies, we're going to bring up some ladies for a quick panel because don't you want to know what do they say about mental health? What is mental health? And we have Diane, who is an expert in relationships. She is a licensed therapist and a sex expert. And we also have Dr. Angie, who is a physician, licensed physician. So we're going to bring Diane and Dr. Angie to the forefront. Ladies, check in. Yes. And Tristan asked a question. What is the most life altering experience you've ever had with hypnosis? We're going to save that. Come on in, Dr. Angie. Diane Eunice, come on in. Yes. All right. So, Dr. Angie.
Hi, hi. Thank you, Amy. That was amazing. That was my comment.
Thank you.
I love it. All right. So, Dr. Angie, you listening to The Happy Hypnotist, what were your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, it was the awareness she brought to the power of the mind. To me, it was a great reminder. We take that for granted on a daily basis. And so just being here and being reminded of how powerful that all our power actually resides within us and not outside of us was what I needed to hear. So that was one big takeaway that I took. I actually had a question, but I'll save it until when we're right. Amy, if you tell me, I'll go because I think I still want to hear some more.
I love it. So, Dr. Angie, you don't have to wait for your question. I mean, while Amy is on the floor, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so Amy, Dr. Amy, I wanted to know, especially for anyone that is not very familiar with hypnosis or, skeptical, what is one practical step we can take on a daily basis to rewire our mindsets?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the things that I have clients do and those that do my program, when we are destroying the old neural pathways, we have to create new neural pathways to replace those, right? So I call it destroying the pavement, paving new ones. So one of the things to do it on a daily basis is when you're falling asleep, then your mind is, we have beta, alpha, theta, delta waves, right? Those are our brain waves. And so when we go into theta, that's the state of hypnosis. That's as we're about to fall asleep almost, right? Our mind goes, whoop. Those brain waves are much bigger and it can take in more. So one of the things that you can do is listen to a hypnotic. I have some on my store, but you can listen to something hypnotic as you're falling asleep because then you're getting that information as you're in delta, theta waves and delta waves. If you don't want to do it that way, you can just simply lay down, relax, and do self hypnosis, right? And I can teach you guys another time how to do that, or some maybe today, but you want to get yourself in that theta wave state, because the theta waves are much bigger brain waves. They're like this, right? Whereas the other waves are kind of smaller. And so your mind can take in much more at that. Same with and it's working with the unconscious, which is the bigger part of the mind. So yeah, you got to get yourself in that state and then feed your mind what it needs. So whatever it is that you're going through, right? You have to clearly establish that and then keep it going through your mind while you're in the theta waves daily, because then what you're doing is creating these new neural pathways so that it's just your automatic way of being. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Yes.
You're welcome.
Wow. All right. There you go. Thank you, Dr. Angie. Thank you, Dr. Joyce. And thank you to our presenter, our speaker, the happy hypnotist, Amy Cofer. So the next voice you will hear, the very next voice, is going to be that of Dr. Angie. She's already here up close and personal. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, she is a licensed therapist. Not when I say therapist, I mean physician. In my humble opinion, physicians are therapists because they don't just take care of a disease entity or an ailment. People tell them their entire life story. They want to know your history, right? That is the first thing you do when you go into a medical clinic or a hospital. They say, so what is your history? Do you have a family history of this? Why? Because that means you'll have a greater inclination of having that thing. They also ask, have you been to an international country? If you have vomiting, because they want to know, do you have any of those things that they have over there, right? So they always ask, what have you done before? And what alleviates it? What makes it better? What aggravates it? What makes it worse? And I can tell you that your health, your mental health, and your physical health is connected, intertwined with other things as well. And Dr. Angie, she is a scientist by nature. She is a genius, in my humble opinion. And I do not want to take the floor. I want to turn it over to none other than our ultimate member, Dr. Angie eBay, all the way from Houston by way of Nigeria. So with that being said, Dr. Angie, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tina. I'm excited to be here. And thank you to everyone that is here listening, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Thank you for being here with us. So I am Dr. Angie. As Dr. Tina rightly introduced, I am a physician and internist by training, originally from Nigeria. I am a mom, a wife, and I sit on too many boards. But you know what? Mental health, the awareness of mental health which is the reason why we're here, is what really saved me. So there was a season in my life, and if you know Nigerians, you know we are what I call go-getters. We never want to stop. It's been, inscribed in us that we have to succeed from a really early age. So there was a season I thought I was doing everything right on paper. I had the title, I had the home, I had the family. But guess what? I was doing this on a daily basis and didn't realize the intensity of what was going on mentally until one day I was sitting in my car after work. And this was during COVID. I was sitting there in silence and I was feeling completely depleted. A thought, came to me, and I thought, was I burnt out from medicine? I still enjoyed what I was doing as a physician. So I felt like, no, it wasn't medicine. I love seeing my patients. I was just burnt out from pretending I was okay. Bear in mind, I said this was during COVID. And before then, I thought I was okay. So my core message today, and I hope that if you don't take out anything else, please remember that mental health isn't about how things look. It's really about how you feel when no one is watching. So at that moment, I checked in and realized that I wasn't in a good place mentally. And even though on script, outwardly, it looked like I was, because to everyone else, I had it all and I looked happy. But when I was alone and when no one was watching, I wasn't okay. So my talk today, I say it's mental health is the real wealth. Because honestly, nothing else. Mental health anchors everything else. So without a good mental state, you really have nothing to brag on. So I have four anchors, four things I would like us to know or check in with, which were things that I did at this point. Of course, my story, I had to continue. Let me continue my story. When I realized that something was wrong, that I wasn't okay, when I was sitting in that car alone in tears, it was the awareness. That was the first thing. I had this awareness that everything is not right, that something is wrong. You know, it was affecting how I was showing up, but without realizing it in my career. I started, even in my parenting, it looked like I was a lazy parent. Well, honestly, I wasn't. I wasn't okay, but I didn't realize it. In my relationship, both with my husband, my siblings, my friends, and then even in my purpose as a whole. So at that point, I had things leaking through the cracks, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And that was because my mental health wasn't the best. So the four anchors that I talked about. The first one is the awareness. So knowing that something is wrong, and I think most of us here probably do, and that's why we're here, is the first step. And so there are daily steps that we can take to actually bring that awareness, even when you're going on a day-to-day basis, like I was then, without realizing that something is wrong. We don't need to wait to the point where we sit in the car and start crying, and then we say something is wrong. If we do this, these things on a daily basis, it can actually help us create that awareness when something is wrong. So check in with yourself at the end of every day and ask yourself, what was it that, how was today? Like, this is a conversation with yourself. How was today? What could I have changed? What went wrong? How did I react? How did I feel? This is my first anchor to mental wellness. And then when you do that, you have to name it. So if you're not feeling okay, this is you and you. You are your own doctor and your own physician at this point. You have to name it to be able to navigate it. So if you felt emotionally drained that day, don't try to shy away from it. Don't try to pretend. On that daily check-in, name it, call it out and say what it is. If you find out that you were getting angry easily, this is a good time to check in and ask yourself, why was that so? And you can do this anytime, really. Morning, when you wake up and you have quiet time. For some of us, our most quiet time, is in the morning. And then for some other people, it's at night. So feel free to do it at any time. So, and then when you do that check-in and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What is going on today? What happened? You also need to ask yourself, what do I need to do right now? So this is what I call a daily check-in. And you don't want to wait till something is wrong, like I said, before you do that, because you want to, the whole idea is to live a proactive life, not a reactive life. That's really the whole idea of this summit, is to create this awareness and bring the intentionality to our daily living. So you want to do this on a daily basis, and please don't wait till there is a crisis. And then the second bit of my anchor is what I call boundaries, because peace isn't passive. I don't know. I personally, I used to be a people pleaser for a long time, and I suffered from that issue with boundary. And I'd say it's my background, and it's okay. It's something that is in the past because it's something I work on daily. So if it's not draining you or feeding you, is it like a question I ask myself, is it draining me or is it feeding me? And that is what I always ask myself now before I say yes. So start working on creating that boundary, because it is so important for our mental health. Like, we can't get away from it. The more yeses you say to others, the more no's you're saying to yourself. And at this time, you can't feel from an, we can't feel from an empty cup. So the goal is always check in and make sure that it is feeding you and not draining you. Because when you're full and fed, then you can feed the next person. So, and the boundary is the second anchor that I talked about. And remember, no is a full sentence, because peace is a permission you give yourself. So we're going to get comfortable. As for the women, and this is really something that we need to get good at. We need to get comfortable with saying no and don't have to explain when we know that is draining us. And then the third one, which is really important to me, which is something I really lacked, was the connection. We're not meant to heal alone. We're not even meant to walk alone. As a Christian, I always had this belief that God created us and created us with others because he knew we were never meant to be alone. And so during COVID, why it became so obvious to me that something was missing was because I was lacking that connection that I had with others at that time. So the reason part of the work I do now with my retreats was birthed was because at that point, I identified two of my very good friends that I felt really safe with. We created this space where I could tell my truth without being afraid of being shamed. And that alone made a huge difference. So we have to work on creating our connection. And it's okay if you don't have one, but it's being intentional about creating one. So many times we're used to struggling alone, and we've kind of been taught to show up. Don't I have a common saying in Nigeria. It's something like, I don't look like my problems. You don't have to look like your problems, but you don't have to lie about your problems either. And you don't have to announce it to the world, and that's why you find a safe connection where you can easily talk about your problem. And then the last step of the anchors is what I call recovery. Reset before you burn out. Don't wait for the burnout to happen before you reset. Find something that makes you happy. For me, I started traveling, and then I started attending retreats because I realized that I love to be with other women who were on the same journey, who were, high achievers, who have been taught to wear identities that were not really aligned with us. And then I would go out there and I would do the things that I love doing, whether it's taking a walk, journaling, dancing, breath work, had a chance to do hypnosis. So these are things that I enjoy doing that always, brought me back to the present. And so when I go on this retreat, I just come back like almost like I went to a mechanic and got a reset in my car. So I say, don't wait till you burn out before you actually reset. We have to do this on an intermittent basis to prevent that burnout. So these are the 4 anchors. And then the last thing one more thing I wanted to add is I mentioned the idea that most of us are wearing an identity that don't align with us. I want you to take a moment today and think about all the societal, identities we have as women, as moms, as sisters, aunties. There's a lot of pressure on us. And even if they're dads here, as dads, as brothers, as husbands, many of us are struggling, not because we're living scripts that are not aligned with our lives. So when you do this daily check-in, it helps you identify identities that you're stepping into, roles that you're playing that don't really align with who you are meant to be and what your purpose is. So, in closing, I just wanted to say that mental health is not a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's something we're going to have to do on a daily basis. And this is my prescription as a physician. I want you to pick one tool from today. One of the tools I talked about, the 4 anchors. Try it for the next 7 days. And each morning you have to ask yourself, how can I honor my mind today? So when you do that, you start checking in with those tools. Don't forget that your mental health is not a luxury. It's your foundation. You have to be selfish to protect it because that's sacred. And I'm going to invite you to attend one of my retreats. I have one coming up, and I'm going to put the link on the in the chat. It's an opportunity for you to reset. Like I said, it's something that we are meant to do on an intermittent basis. The same way we take our cars to the car repair and the electrician to check on it. The same way you should see me as a physician at least every year, for some people every 6 months, depending on what your medical history is the same way we have to check in and reset in events like conferences, retreats, because that's how we honor our minds as well. In this retreat, it's an opportunity for us to go through those four anchors that I talked about on it, work on how we create our boundaries, self-care, daily check-ins, opportunities to just be yourself, find who you are meant to be and align with that person and step out even more powerful. So that's what I had to share today, and I am happy to take any questions.
Woo! Matter of fact, speaking of questions, let's call some people up because I'm looking at the chat is blowing up. Recovery. Don't wait for burnout. Do what makes you happy. Reset before burnout is definitely a game changer. Wow, I love this. Sometimes we don't see burnout coming. How can we be alerted to burnout? Like, since you don't see it coming on, all of a sudden it just hits you like a front end car. So they said, how can you see burnout coming? Is there any signs, symptoms?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, like I said, we don't want to wait to the burnout. But if you haven't been doing the steps, the chances that you probably will get to a point that I got years ago. And how we can see this, you find that you don't find joy in your day, in the things that you enjoy doing usually. May not be to the point of depression, severe depression, but if you feel tired from the things that you were doing that usually will bring you joy and they don't anymore, to me, that's a sign. If you find yourself what I called myself then was lazy, even at work, even at home, um, that was a sign of burnout. I wasn't being lazy. I hadn't fed myself enough to feed others. And so I had nothing to give. And also another way to know when you're burnt out is if you're hearing this and it's coming to you that you're burnt out, there's a chance you are burnt out. So
I love it. Okay, I want to have a panel. So I want to call up Dr. Sharon and Dr. Joyce Martella. Dr. Sharon and Dr. Joyce Martella. Okay, so we have the doctors in the building. You see this? We have the doctors in the building. So, Dr. Sharon, you heard from Dr. Angie, a licensed physician internist, and her share on mental health, on being burnt out, on how she felt. So oftentimes when you have those two initials in front of your name, people do not believe, like you and Dr. Joyce, that you don't get burnout. Dr. Angie shared her story. So because we're intimate, because this is about mental health, and it's because it is about authenticity and transparency, we would love to hear a time in your life pre Dr. Sharon Arundel, pre the Dr. Joyce Martella, on when you were burnt out and how you handled it. So with that being said, Dr. Joyce, over to you, then Dr. Sharon, take it away.
Well, for me, I would say the time I really came to that burnout position in my life was I had just finished my PhD and I had just received my doctorate, but I had been spending at least 3 years taking care of my daughter and my granddaughter, my daughter who had a lot of health issues. And it was in and out of hospitals and, just thing after thing and new medical thing after new medical thing. And I was just going, going, going. And I wasn't really being appreciated for it. There was this thing about, well, you still need to get a regular job. You still need to get a regular job. I was taking care of a newborn and then a 3-year-old, and I was taking care of my adult daughter, taking her to doctor's appointments and surgeries probably once a month, and taking care of her when she couldn't do the things that she needed to do. And I just got totally drained. I didn't really have much left just to even go on. And it made so much of my life seem depressing. And I started feeling like, wow, I have to show up and I have to be here for everybody, but I just don't feel like I have much to give, and I don't know how much longer I'm gonna last. I felt like I was coming to an end, and I wasn't really that old to be coming to an end. And I mean, at least in my eyes, I still don't think I'm that old to become to an end. But at that time, I was just feeling like I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go. I don't know how this is gonna, look and how I'm gonna change. And even though I just spent my whole dissertation working on how to help people heal from cults, I wasn't even applying all that to myself. And I wasn't looking at it because I was just drained. And I got to that place where I think my fire went out. And I was there. I just don't think I can go on. I can't keep doing this. I don't know what the answer is. And I had to really stop and do some of the things that Dr. Angie was talking about, reassess things, look at who I was, look at how much on autopilot I was running, looking that I was not feeding myself, I was not taking care of myself, and I had to really turn that around. And slowly I did. It didn't happen overnight, but I did. And finally I'm to the place I am today. But it was, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, it was really easy. I figured it out. The light came on and then everything was better. No, it took some time and it took some healing. And I had a lot more healing to do of my own personal trauma, which I didn't realize how much that was impacting the decisions I was making. And so, yeah, it can seem daunting, but I'm here to tell you that it's not impossible to get out of that place. And for everybody, the path might look a little bit differently, but in some ways it looks the same. First, you have to really get into that place where you realize there's hope. Even if you can't see everything right now, it's a place of believing that there is going to be a better day, and that you're gonna actually make it a better day by doing
Yes.
the things you need to. And it's a process, but it's doable, and there is hope. There's hope for everybody who comes to
Yes.
that place.
There is hope. Thank you so much. Wow, Dr. Joyce. Thank you for your vulnerability. And with that being said, Dr. Sharon, over to you.
Um, I like the reset thing, right? It's one of those things that you get to press on a computer, and it does the same thing with the mind. And the thing is, you don't just get to press it once. It's over and over. It's an ongoing reset. And even today in my talk, I don't often really talk about myself in depth because it changes the trajectory of a room. But when I get to do that, I'll get to talk about some places where I just, it wasn't even reset, it was just being still, be still. And because of that stillness, I've learned how to be still in such an amazing way. I get to tell other people how to do it, how to just be still while, for lack of better words, all hell is breaking loose all around you. You just learn a place of stillness in your mind, because the things that are going on are still going on. But if you could just still your mind, I'm a firm believer in prayer. So and when I say prayer, I don't mean you get to kneel down, do all the things that people think you have to do. It's just a continuous thing that's happening that you're doing while in that place of stillness. You know, you're not even sometimes opening your mouth, you're just still, but it's all going on in your mind. And so if we could just learn how to still our minds, I think we could get to that place of reset over and over again. So we don't, it's not even just burnout, it's just dying. Dying to the point where you've died internally and nobody around you even knows that you died.
Woo! Mm. Mm. Yes, so I'm looking at all the notes and messages. And so what I would like to do at this time is I would like for us to go into a breakout room. Ladies, you share some really heartfelt, tear-jerking, real truths and realities, not just of yourselves, but so many women today.
Mhm.
And so we're going to do something privately and intimately. We're going to go into breakout rooms. In these breakout rooms, you're going to be asked questions where people who are attending and people that are speaking alike, because we're all human and everyone has something going on. And if you don't have anything going on, I promise you, you just got over that thing or you're getting ready to go into that thing. And so these specialists, these experts, these masters, these moms, these wives, these professionals, these leaders can give you a toolkit. And so you are going to go into a breakout room. Dr. Joyce is going to be in a breakout room for questions. Dr. Sharon Arundel, Dr. Angie, as well as Amy Colford, the happy hypnotist. And so what I would like to do is I would like for you just to choose which room you want to go in and just have some real heart-to-heart conversations. The things that you were afraid to say to other people, you can say to these women that you see and have saw on the screen. The things where you feel that you will be judged for, that will not happen on this summit, because this is the Mental Health and Wellness Summit sponsored by Global Women Speakers. And when I say these women are phenomenal, that's an understatement. They have a calling on their lives and on their businesses. They have a gift and a skill set that will set you free. So without further ado, we are going to go into the breakout rooms, and you're going to have literally 3 minutes. Be mindful of other people. Let others ask their question. Yield the mic. Allow the floor. The first room, we're going to call it, it's where the happy hypnotist is going to be. So you will get a chance to choose your room. That's the first room, the happy hypnotist. Okay. And we're going to be able to put people there that have questions, that want to be heard and seen. The next room is going to be Dr. Angie's. That's where Dr. Angie is going to be. A lot of you have questions. Fantastic. You can ask Dr. Angie those questions. In addition to that, we're going to have a room with Dr. Sharon. If you want to ask Dr. Sharon questions, then you can go there as well. Ladies, the bottom line is be where you would like to be. Ask questions, build relationships, make sure that you are connected to someone that's connected to your breakthrough. Make sure you're connected to someone that's connected to your breakthrough. With that being said, we will see you when you get back. Dr. Angie and Dr. Joyce, we're going to take you into your breakout room. If you end up in a room that already has a host, then I would like for you to be there. So who is in room 2? That's Dr. Sharon is in room 2. Dr. Sharon, you should be in room 2. Why are you still here? Hold on. Your room is room 2. There you go. Okay, good. She's gone. Okay. And Dr. Joyce, And Dr. Angie. Perfect. Where's Jen? Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to the main room. Welcome back. Welcome back. People are still coming back. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Awesome. So I want everyone to come off mute because you just had some intimate conversations. I hopped in and out of certain rooms and the conversations were really deep. One room I had to leave because they were calling my name and read my mail. So what I would love for you ladies to share now is I would love for you to share which room you were in, who were in some of the members that were in your room, and one takeaway from that room. And we're going to start with Dr. Joyce. After Dr. Joyce, actually, you know what? We'll go in alphabetical order. So if you know your name, I don't want to have to call each person. Let's just go in alphabetical order. I'll call your name and you just take it away, okay? So, Amy, you're first. Amy, what was your which room were you in and what was your takeaway?
I was in room 1, my own room, and the takeaway was just that some people had some really great questions. Dr. Sonia was telling me that she has learned a bit of it in what she does and that they're seeing amazing results with hypnotism.
Awesome.
And so she had a lot of really great questions that I was able to answer. And we were talking about how there are misunderstandings about it because of the way it's portrayed in movies.
Awesome. That was a great takeaway. Right now, we just want a really quick takeaway, a snippet. So what was your takeaway, Amy?
That it helps. It works really well if people
Awesome.
let it. Yep.
That's the key. If people let it, you have to be open, right?
Yep.
I love that. Okay, fantastic. Angela.
Well, that was my phrase. If you're open to it, it works. But I think that's also true with everything, right? You have to be open for the change.
Awesome. Dr. Angela, can you think of one more takeaway out of room 1?
Well, we did a lot of sort of fact finding and exploration. So I think it's always important to understand that there's science behind the woo.
There you go. Science behind the woo. I love that. I'm going to say this, and you guys know me. I'm going to say if I were somebody, I would go and see if that domain name is available. You already know. I'm about increasing the bottom line. That is hot. I'm just going to let you know somebody will buy Science Behind the Woo. If you don't, somebody else will. Create a additional stream of income, be a domain broker. Okay, and so who's next?
Well, in our room, I learned that burnout can happen not just in one area, but in all these different areas of your life. You just gotta ping, ping, ping when it's happening and know when it's happening in your family, when it's happening in your career, in all the areas, and just be aware and abreast of what's happening. Dr. Ng shared that.
Wow. I love that. Who's next? Rapid fire.
I'll go.
Away.
I think that through everything that I was listening to, different people talking, I think that women tend to really come from this mindset of I have to be 100% in every area of my life. And when they don't reach that, which is kind of impossible, then they feel like they're not being everything they can be. And so then they try harder and harder. And that's where the burnout comes from because they can't hold that space, all those things in that space, and hold them all up equally. And so the idea is to realize we can't be 100% at everything. So it's about what can we do and how fully can we do each thing and balance that out and understand that's going to shift. So at one point, when you're a mom of little babies, you're having to put more into that. When you're a mom of teenagers, it's a different having to put in. And when you're a mom of adults, it's totally different. So as you go through those phases, you're going to find that there's different amount of energy that you have to put into each one. And so then you have to balance the other areas that you are putting your energy into. And so I think that that was one of the takeaways, that women tend to do this a lot and think that we have to be 100% at everything. And we only are 100%. We're not 200% or 300% or 400%. We're just 100%. So we have to break that up. Do the math, right?
Wow,
How
thanks.
much can you give?
Maria, what was your takeaway?
So one of the takeaways was the burnout in multiple areas, which can overlap, as well as one of the things is, yes, you can also, because of what you've been through, that heightens your awareness so that you can see the roadblocks ahead before you reach them.
Awesome. Diane, what's your takeaway?
That fear is really false expectations appearing real. Feelings are not facts. Thanks to Angela. That was great. Amy, sorry.
Wow.
It was great.
Love it. Dr. Sonia, Dr. Angie, Shauna, what's your takeaway?
I was in room 1 with amazing people and Dr. Amy and Dr. Angela, Dr. Diane, and we indeed had the beautiful conversation, but really the takeaway is believing mindset is really key. Like believe in it. I mean, if you don't believe in something, whatever the theme, actually, whatever the subject, I mean, believing is key here. Believing in it and believing in hypnosis and believing in that it can heal, actually. And
Wow, thank you for sharing, Dr. Sonia. Anna Lee, Jana.
Yeah, like what I got, like write down things you're going through and just look, and it's okay to cry. That's what I got.
Love it. Yes, crying is a cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything needs a cleansing. The earth, your clothing, your body, your intestines, even your spirit. So thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, my takeaway was something I actually plan to implement more is pour it all out. It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be correct. Just pour it out in paper as much as I can. And if possible, I may end up writing a book out of it. Thank you, Dr. Sharon.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of books, Dr. Sharon has an anthology, which is a compilation of leaders that are going to share their stories. It's called From Cocoon to Soar. I am committed to it. I cannot wait. I saw the book cover. I seen the book cover yesterday. It's literally breathtaking.
I'm going to share it in my presentation today.
So listen, if you guys are an author, would like to be an author, or you have a story that you remember when you were in the cocoon, when you remember when there was no way out of any way, when you just saw yourself as a slimy caterpillar, but then something happened in your life that catapulted you into that beautiful butterfly. And then as you're flying around looking so beautiful, as you spread your butterfly wings, that you had an aha moment, you grew into the woman or the man that God has predestined or preordained you to be, or you just realize that I don't want to be a butterfly anymore. That butterflies are cute. I came from a long way, but I know there's still miles and journeys and destinations that I can reach. and I cannot reach those heights as a butterfly. So you became the eagle. You begin to soar. You begin to spread those wings 10 feet, 15 feet wide and soar above the clouds. You are an eagle. If that is you, I'm telling you, this compilation that Dr. Sharon is doing is unbelievable. You definitely want to be a part of it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the next voice you will hear is going to be our next speaker. Did you guys enjoy those breakout rooms? Anyone enjoy
Yes.
breakout rooms?
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank
Yes.
you. Yes.
That's where the magic
Yes.
happens, in those intimate moments. And that's what the Mental Health and Wellness Summit, sponsored by Global Women Speakers, is all about. We have some amazing women and businesses that's aligned with Global Women Speakers. We have Dr. Angie, licensed physician, you guys, sponsoring retreats. Like I know I need to retreat from something. We all do. What do you need to retreat from yourself, from your family, from your children, from your spouse, from the chaos, or simply you just need to go and be rejuvenated. And that's what it's all about. We have She Pop, the finest jewelry on the planet. I still cannot find my earrings, and they are sold out. I don't like that. We have Amy, the happy hypnotist. We have Dr. Joyce Martella, who, oh my gosh, like her courses, her programs are liberating. And her and Dr. Sharon are opening up schools soon, so that's going to be incredible. You have Inspired Wellness, who everything is just simply about inspiration. And I love that it's inspiration because there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is external. Somebody can stir you up and get you motivated, but if you don't have that internal inspiration, nothing is going to happen. We also have the publisher of Beyond the Vows magazine. This magazine has not just taken leaps and bounds in the States, it's gone international, South Africa, as well as Dubai. And we have people asking from from India, as well as Australia and France, where Dr. Sonia is. So stay tuned for that. We also have some amazing people that are supportive. Like we have Shauna, we have Anna Lee, we have Dr. Sonia, we have Jen Chavez, we have Leslie, we have Sean Ross, we have Yvette Calhoun. We have, I'm looking at YouTube, we have so many people, and we have someone chiming in right now, Stacy Williams. So let's welcome Stacy. And so the next voice you will hear will be that of the Dr. Sharon Arundel. Dr. Sharon, take it away. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. It's comfortable to be here. It's a new day. Today is 5/25/2025. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Dr. Tina, for this platform where we come and we get to share. Thank you for all of you who are here, hoping that something that we say is going to inspire you to change and become and believe that you can become. And so today, my topic is a little different. And I'm going to try to talk a little bit about myself as well. So I'm finding my slides so I could share. Okay. So here we go. I don't want it to. Hold on, I'm getting there. Can you guys see the slide?
Yes, Dr. Sharon, we can see.
We can see it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, today I'm talking about gifts and what we do with them. I'm trying to get my screen to be bigger so that you can actually see it in a bigger way. So hold on a second. Sorry about that. Is that happening? Hold on. Help. Okay. Okay, but could somebody grant me an assistance, please? Because I'm trying to get the slide. Sorry about that.
Dr. Sharon, in the upper right-hand corner, I don't know if it's your right or my left, where you see the X at the top, and you see like a copy screen, and you see a little dash, that's the minimizing screen. No, not there. All the way at the top, the right upper.
Okay, so right. This is right.
Yes.
This is left for me. It's left for me.
Okay, so right there, you see
Okay. All right. But it still doesn't.
No, not there. You're the other side. Let's just say the other side. Okay, let's just go to the other side. At the very top,
Okay.
you see an X where it says share. You see that? Don't click on it. Just go up above that. You see there, it says close. Okay. Now go to the second one next to close. Back up where you were. Don't click on it. Go to the next one. Click there. So it made it bigger. Okay, so it's okay. Go ahead and do, there you go. Go back to normal. And let's just go to your design. This is not a Mac, this is okay, good. So close this, close that, exit out, go all the way out. You guys, while we do that, what I would like you to do is right now is put in the chat a question or a statement and let us decide if it's true or false about yourself. A statement or a question for one of the speakers, the experts, or a question or a statement about yourself, and let us decide if it's true or false. And Dr. Sharon, you can share your screen again. Okay, go to slideshow, like slideshow.
I'm figuring it, trying to figure it out. And there it is. And so, sorry, I apologize for that. I'm kind of showing my age. I'm kind of showing my technology expertise. I'm kind of doing everything by literally developing this slideshow on my own with no help at all. So that alone was a godsend for me. I don't know about anybody else on here, but today I'm talking about gifts and the gifts of setbacks. And it sounds like an oxymoron because usually when we have setbacks, we don't think of them as gifts. We think of them as things like, I wish I could return it, during Christmas when you get that gift and you open it and you don't really like it and you go, I want to return that one. But then you show this big old smile on your face, faking it, that you like it when you really don't. So today we're talking about courageously unwrapping the gifts of setbacks. Again, I say thank you to all of you that have showed up today. My friend Stacy is in the room. We go way back and she knows my story. So today, unlike any other time, I'm going to try to strategically interject my story while hopefully helping someone else to change their mindset about their own story. And so these are two of my baby granddaughters opening their gifts on Christmas. This was my first Christmas in a long time spending with them because they're living here. And so I wanted them to be frantically opening these gifts, but they're very calm ladies. They probably get that from their grandmother, but they're very calm ladies. And so they're strategically looking at these gifts. And we open our gifts with anticipation And I'm wondering, by looking at their faces, they're going, what could it be? Who is it from? Is it something I like? Will I want to return it for something else? And all the things that are going through their minds at that particular moment. They were intentional in finding out what was inside, but you can't find out what's inside until you unwrap. And so, you know, we get to do that. And so unwrapping the gifts of setbacks means we have to embrace these gifts. And, you know, the gifts are supposed to be creating potential, but because we're seeing it as failure, we can't really get to it. You know, I'm a pastor, so I cannot apologize every time I interject biblical principles, because that's what has gotten me to where I am. And so I got to this place and I said, if I were to share a testimony today, what would it be? What would it be? And I was baffling my mind up until this morning at the crack of dawn. I was sitting here and it was downloaded into me, because I could share a lot of things. I could share about when my children's father told me he was HIV positive. I could share about when I hit the floor because of divorce after all of that. I could share when becoming a single mom almost created homelessness for us. I could share about that. I could share how after 10 years of not dating or anything, marrying the wrong person who ended up being a drug addict and going to jail and taking me for every cent that I had. I could share all of that. I could share all of that. And I've actually done it in book form. But today, I want to share something that's even closer than that, right? Because all of these things cause pressure, cause you to be crushed, cause you to feel like you're gonna die, cause you to feel perplexed. But the Bible says you're not in despair, even though you're perplexed. You're down and out, you hit the floor, but you're not destroyed. I'm still here. I'm here with you today. But the one that I want to share is what happened when the world stood still. The world stood still for all of us in 2020. And that's the reason I want to share it, because I wasn't the only one that it stood still for. It was the entire world. But the gifts of setbacks are supposed to create alignment, even in when the world stood still. The world stood still. When the world stood still, we were still promised beauty for ashes, but we had to unwrap these gifts of setbacks and rise from the ashes. And when there's ashes, that means there was a fire. Well, let me tell you about my fire. Let me tell you about my fire. My fire happened in 2021 when it seemed like COVID was subsiding. It did not subside for me. Did not subside for me. I walked into Walmart like any other day, fully masked because we were still wearing masks. My husband, I have a great guy today, and we're gonna get to that. But we were in Walmart. He went his way, I went my way like we normally do to meet back up at the register. And Walmart started to spin out of control. And I said, I text him and I said, I gotta get out of here. Something is happening. I don't know what it is, but I gotta get out of this store. We got in the car. He said, I have to make a stop. but don't get out of the car. Just stay in the car. I stayed in the car. And when I saw him coming back towards me, I felt like somebody threw a match into the car and lit me on fire. Everything was burning. I was burning out of control. And my husband said he touched my skin. He said it's like almost sizzling, right? Because you're burning out of control. The next day, I made it to the next day. And I got up, he went to work, and I said, I gotta go get tested for COVID. He said, well, COVID is kind of, so I said, I gotta go. And I went, and as I saw the person coming back, shaking their head, I knew it was for me. Well, I got diagnosed with COVID, and I thought I could beat it at home. So I went into all the remedies that they tell you to do, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working. I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I went in the bathroom and it started spinning. And I literally held on to the sink, if there's such a thing, because I said, I'm not going down. I'm not going down, because if I hit the floor, I might die. So I'm not going down, but the sink did not help me. I hit the floor. I hit the floor. My husband heard when my beautiful bald head hit the tile, and he came running, and I could see him. I could hear him, but I couldn't say anything. I lost my voice. He said there was stuff coming out of my mouth. They call it when you're foaming at the mouth. That's what I was doing. And I remember grabbing onto his pant leg and trying to talk, but nothing was coming out of my mouth. And he picked me up, asked me if I was okay. I shook my head, but I didn't know if I was okay. He took me into the bed, put me in the bed, and then him and my brother took me to the emergency room. And the words that come behind that, where they say, you have to stay and your family has to leave, will forever ring in my mind. And so, hospitalized for days and days and days. In the middle of the night, every night, they would come and give you an injection in your belly to keep your circulation. For those of you who are medical doctors, you understand all of that. I did not. They would stick you, don't rub it. And I'm like, well, all you want to do is rub it. But that was my experience. I could hear throughout the night, every night, people screaming to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home, just screaming it. But I realized that some doors were red, some doors were yellow. And I was in the yellow room, which meant I wasn't as bad as the person in the red room. I kept looking at my room door. That was my comfort. It remained yellow, but I continued to hear people screaming for their lives. COVID had taken over my pancreas and didn't know what to do with it, but eat it away. So I couldn't keep anything in my stomach. I couldn't. This is my first time really doing this out loud. I've written about it, haven't done it out loud, but I could. I'm laying there and I'm asking the people, what's happening? Why is everybody screaming? And one nurse said to me, the same thing that's happening to you is happening to them, but there's a stillness about you that I'm still trying to understand. I couldn't even, I'm gonna get really graphic because I couldn't keep anything in my stomach. It was coming out. My room literally for those of you who have met me and know me, I am very particular about the way I look, about my hygiene, everything. My room stunk. I knew it. So I knew if it stunk to me, I can only imagine the people that were trying to take care of me. No matter how I tried to get on that little commode that they put next to me, I never made it, never could make it. And so I laid there naked for all those days, listening to all of that. And then one day, when they ran out of space, they said they would send me home. And I remember being wheeled out in that wheelchair. And I looked back up at the hospital, the 4th floor, and I heard a voice say to me, "You're a designated survivor." But I was still sick. But I was a designated survivor. And I kept wondering, what did I survive for? Because if I don't know what I survived for, there is no reason for me to survive. Because for me, like I'll repeat biblically, right? Like Paul said, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain. It's all good for me. But God wasn't ready for all that. So I was a designated survivor, surviving. So I had started a second doctoral degree in 2015. I got home. I still couldn't walk by myself. I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't do anything for myself, but I had this guy. He did everything. And he carried me into the tub, and we laugh about it today. There was a green cup that he would just pour the water on my back every day. I didn't care if the rest of me was clean. I just needed him to do that every day. And I kept saying to him, I'm going to live. I'm not going to die. And so I had brain fog. I couldn't remember anything. My children said I was talking out of my mind. Couldn't remember anything. But my advisor for that degree, he said, I can help you get there, but you got to help yourself. I'm going to do everything I can on my end to help you, but you got to help yourself. I couldn't see the screen like I'm seeing it today. He had to send me everything so that I could print it. I would throw it on the floor so I could read it all. And I remember doing my dissertation. I invited nobody in my family because I didn't know if I was going to make it through those 37 slides. But I did. And I still was not able to walk by myself. I would go outside, look at my mailbox that I go to intentionally every day and say, God, if you could just get me to the mailbox. If you could just get me to the mailbox, I know I'm going to be all right. And one fine day, he got me to the mailbox. But then I turned around and looked at the house and I'm like, how am I going to get back to the house? That was another conversation. Please get me back to the house. Well, that turned into all things. I started timing myself, how fast I could walk, where I could go. At first it was just to the mailbox, then it got to the corner, then it got down the street, then it got to 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. And my stepdaughters, one day she stopped in her car and she said, I am so proud of you. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I am proud of me too. But this is not the end. This is, I believe, the beginning. It was beauty for ashes all the time. There was a fire. It started in my skin, but I had to remember that there was gonna be beauty like these beautiful packages right here on the horizon waiting for me. Beauty for ashes requires transition. It requires that you have to pivot. I pivoted so many times, I felt like I was going in circles. And I ended up being able to actually attend my physical graduation in San Diego with my entire family, sitting out there. I don't know if it was me just trying to hear them, but I could hear them screaming, "Mommy, Grandma," and it blew me away. I looked at the person to my left and I looked at the person to my right, and they were both young women. And I said, "I don't know what y'all plan to do with yours, but I plan to do great things in the kingdom of God. Get it together, girls, get it together, because we got to change the world. And in order to change the world, you have to accept your gifts of setbacks. You have to literally open them, look at them, and not try to return them to sender. And I don't know where you're at today. Setback gifts, all these gifts are to prepare you for something. I don't know what your setback gift is today. What is your gift? Is it a loss of someone or something? Is it a health issue that you're battling, that your body is raging on fire in pain? Is it a failure that you feel like you can't rise from and become a success? Is it rejection by someone or some people that are telling you you can't and you need to do something about that? Is it financial, where somebody literally left the building and left you with $754 on negative in your bank account? That was me back then. But today, I rise. And today, I get to tell you all to do the same thing. You gotta rise. You gotta rise from the loss. And people can help you. People can come along, like my advisor. Back in the day, it was my spiritual mom. Get up off the floor, girl, because you're not gonna die on my watch. People can do that. Dr. Tina, she is the ultimate rise keeper. You know, she call you every day, rise, rise, rise. But until you decide, it's not gonna happen. It's not going to happen because your mental software is on pause because of all of these things that you're looking at as horrible gifts, when in fact, they are gifts that will prepare you and change the trajectory of your future. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I tell you, I woke up with this morning. My pillow was drenched, and I came in this room because I knew that God wanted me to talk to somebody. I don't know who you are, but today is your day to rise, because the end result is beauty for ashes. He gives beauty for ashes and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, all the heaviness. Well, I am currently married to this guy. Those three little people in that picture are my other 3 grandchildren. He has 6 of them. I currently have 5. And we just found out that we're about to have another. So combined, we're about to have 12. We are Brady Bunch ×2. And we have to create a legacy for these people, for these little people that are coming behind us, because they need to see that when you rise to the occasion, God doesn't just take you to a place of flight. He takes you to a place of soaring, soaring like an eagle. And however far you want your eagle's wings to go, that's how far it can go. But you got to want it. And so that's the destination that I'm going in. And as a result, I am courageously, even more courageous than before, because I'm a good solo author. I'm good at that. I know how to write. It started on the floor. I picked up a piece of paper and I just started writing what was happening to me in that moment. I couldn't even see the paper. I was just writing and writing and writing. It turned into 1 journal, 2 journals, 3 journals, 10 journals, until it turned into 2 amazing books. And now I was challenged. I was challenged to do this project. I'm calling it a project, from cocoon to soar. Because unstoppable female leaders, we need to take flight. Not just like the butterfly. My stepdaughter, I thought I had it with me. She gave me a butterfly that could light up, because I kept talking about this butterfly over and over and over. But at the end of the day, that's not enough, because you got to take those wings even further. The butterfly does not live all that long, but the eagle stays soaring. Even when the eagle soars even more when there's a storm raging. That eagle rises above the storm. I'm thinking that's what we do when we unwrap our gifts. We go from crawling to cocoon to flying to soaring. I encourage you today to write with me. You may say, but I'm not an author. I didn't ask you that. When I started, I was not an author. I was on the floor, writing on a receipt. That's what I was writing on. Never ever thought that it would be 1 book, 2 books, 3 books, 4, 5, all the way to number 10. And 10 is a number of completion. So that was the completion for my solo writing. And now I get to write with you all. It started as a solo book, so the chapters have already been created. But if you click that QR code, it will take you into my little journey that I want to take you on with me, so we could change the world, 1 person at a time. 1 person at a time. And look up like I do every day, whether I'm riding around here like a crazy person on a purple tricycle, whether I'm in the pool doing pool aerobics with 90 and 80-year-old women, whether I'm at the gym 3 times a week, I rise every day, because I know that when I get up and I put my foot on the floor, the devil gets real mad. And I know he's going to come at me with something else, but I'm prepared. I'm prepared for my gifts. I keep on preparing every day for my gifts. And right now, I'm preparing for a gift of ultimate excellence in this project. And even to the point of opening a school of my own. I've been teaching at the university level for over 18 years, and nobody could pay me what I'm worth. So watch out for Inspired Wholeness Christian University coming soon. And I literally listened to Dr. Tina and bought that site. And I know it's coming soon. And I say to you all, if you need to connect with me, if you need to talk to me, if you need to do anything with me, this is where I'm at. You know, I have a store. You want the whole story? It's on my Stand Store. You want a freebie of something that I've written? It's on the Stand Store. Everything is there. I am an open book, and I'm even more open today. But I challenge you more than anything else. If you've been trying to do this by yourself, God is waiting for you to just say, help me. Help me. Help me walk to the mailbox. Help me walk back to the house. Help me get to the kitchen. It's not a big deal. It's not rocket science. Simple ingredients of prayer. I just wrote the book. Simple. We take it to all kinds of places, but it's just simple ingredients. When it's so simple that Jesus' disciples said, teach us to pray. And he looked at them and gave them something that we repeat, whether we know God or not, we keep repeating, our Father who art in heaven. Simple ingredients of prayer. I challenge you today to utilize the simple ingredients to get on board, open your gifts, and walk into your destiny. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I'm done, everyone.
We're speechless. I'm going to bring people in because I'm wiping my tears right now.
Good.
Dr. Sharon, I have never, ever heard you share those stories. I have never heard you speak that way. Whew, I'm just going to have to bring people in for this one because,
Yeah.
whew. Dr. Joyce, Dr. Angie, Dr. Angela, well, no, only the people who have the background.
I'm here, but I can't turn on my video.
No, I got it. It's coming.
Okay.
Diane, Eunice.
Yes,
Wow.
I have. Can I go? Because
Mm.
um,
Oh
Dr.
my.
Sharon, I got really emotional. I went through something similar with COVID, but never told my story about how it impacts our mental health. I kept it to myself, and then today, you had the courage to. You had the courage to share your story, which gives me the courage to tell mine.
All right.
I will do that at some point because I don't think people understand, if you haven't had it, the havoc it wreaks not only on your physical, but your mental health. And so I kept the stories. I haven't even talked to my family about what it was like because they were in a whole different city, state, and I was doing it alone. So you have truly blessed me today. And there's glory in your story, and I appreciate it. So I appreciate you to give me that courage to do the same. Okay, so thank you.
Diane.
You're welcome.
She gave you the courage, and there's no better time than now. God opened the door and you got to go through it, because until you get it out of you, he won't be able to use you in a way that he brought you through it for. You didn't die of it. There are people that they don't get a chance to tell their story. He doesn't keep anything he can't use, and it wasn't for you. It was for you to get it through to someone else. And Dr. Sharon had never shared her story. She shared it today, and so the floor is yours.
I can't today.
We respect that.
I can't today. But I can
And you,
promise you
and
that I will.
We respect that. No, in your timing,
Thank you.
God's timing. It has nothing to do with me.
and
Nothing.
you know, a lot of people had COVID, but this was 3 months of my life that went away. I cannot get them
Yeah.
back. 3 months was a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a long journey. I told it in a few minutes, but it was a long journey for me, for my husband, new husband, right? He got married in 2020, and this is 2021, and he had already buried a wife, you know. So this was intense. It's not a one-off, oh, I got COVID. Nope,
Nope.
nope. And
It's
I
not.
understand why you can't tell it today.
Oh, thank you, Diane. Dr. Joyce, Dr. Angie.
Oh, come on. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and being so vulnerable to share all that with us. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but obviously you found the gift in it. And I think that that's really the important message, is that no matter what it is we're going through, that we do find that gift that comes from it. Because otherwise, what's the sense in going through it, right? What's the sense in coming out at the other end if there's not going to be anything there to celebrate, right? And it's like your relationship blossomed, it seemed, in that period of time, because you got something from your husband that you would never have asked him for, never have asked him to go through that with you or to show up that way, but he did. And it seems, as you were sharing parts of your other parts of your life, that there wasn't anybody showing up for you. And so here you were taken down to the fact that you couldn't even walk or take care of yourself, and someone showed up for you. And that was God showing up too, right? And I mean, just what you shared really touched me, because though my story is totally different, I see the same thing, where there were times when I felt like I was in it all alone, and I was, except I wasn't. Because during those times when you think that you're all alone, there is someone there standing beside you, walking with you, and that's God. You just can't see him, right? Not in the same way we see people. And so I think what you shared just, it really touched my heart, and that you could come out of it with so much hope, and that you could come out of it sharing that hope with other people. Because it's not enough that we find the hope ourselves, but that, what's the sense in that? It's like having a bowl full of candy and eating it all yourself, right? Instead you pass it around and you give joy to so many others. And so I think that in doing that, in being able to share that hope with others, it makes that gift really mean something. And it makes the going through it all more acceptable, right? It's like nobody signs up for that kind of COVID, right? Nobody gets in line and says, I want it that bad, right? But on this side of it, all the things that you have gained because of it, you see the blessing. And I think that that's the important thing, that we see that blessing and that we see the hope. And thank you so much for sharing it.
Dr. Angie.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sharon. I don't know. I didn't know that's where you're gonna take us. Maybe I should have excused myself. I'm sorry. But yeah, thank you. I didn't have COVID, but I say I lived with COVID. So I don't like that era personally. We didn't have answers, honestly. And in as much as I am a physician and I had to show up, I had a family I had to protect, but I didn't know how to. Or at least I felt like that. I felt helpless. I would come home and just be worried about what I was bringing home. Thank you for sharing. It's good to hear from it's good to hear from someone that survived on the other end. I say we are all survivors. That's what I wrote that year. I remember on my post, January that year, I said we're all survivors, whether we're taking care of patients or we are the patients, because we were dealing with a pandemic that was totally new to us. And it's just good to hear your story and just be reminded of that again, that we're all survivors. And, seeing you today, all smiles and telling it like the way you did was profound. Of again, the first talk, Amy, and the power of the mind, and how we are creators, and you've created something beautiful out of that, the beauty out of the ashes. So thank you. I like your calling. I like what you've asked us to do. I actually did send you a message while you were talking. And I just want to say I'm so blessed to know you and to be amongst everyone here. So thank you.
Wow. This is exactly what our mental health and wellness summit is all about. It is not about showing up as if we have it all together. It's about allowing people to not just see our glory where we are now, but also to share our stories. And that's what Global Women Speakers is all about. It is the #1 platform for women entrepreneurs to share their message, speak on stages around the globe, sell their products and their services, and network with women around the globe. People need to hear these stories. Women need to hear these stories. We need to hear these stories. The people who are sharing the stories need to hear the story again. There's a lot of unhealed women and men that are walking around as if we have it all together. And then there's triggers that causes you to become muted, causes you to stumble, causes you to feel that you're insignificant, that you're incompetent. It's because of the trauma, the unhealed areas of our life that we think that if we do not say it out loud, that it's not affecting us or it hasn't happened. And it's quite the contrary. There was a study by the American Cancer Society and the American Medical Association that said unresolved trauma, unresolved stress, it will cause you to be unfruitful, meaning for women, it affects your womb, where you won't be able to bear children, where it causes cancer, and a host of other things. And reading this, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my God. Like it correlates biblically. Like you truly have to cast your cares on the, you can't do anything about them. Worrying will kill you. And so Dr. Sharon, Amy, Dr. Angie, our speakers today, wow. For those of you who are watching this live, or you're catching the replay, or you're watching on YouTube, we just want to say thank you for being here. And if anything, any one word, one letter that any of these phenomenal, incredible, heart-centered, servant-driven leaders have shared that has impacted your life in any type of way, I'm asking you to not just reach out to them. Don't just follow them on IG. Don't become their Facebook friend. I'm asking you to buy from them, support their cause. If you would like to stop smoking and you've tried everything except hypnotism, reach out to Amy. If you know, like I do, like every woman professional and leader, whether you're an employee, a C-suite corp, an executive, a business owner, you need to retreat. Reach out to Dr. Angie. I am going to be there. A lot of the ladies that you see are going to be there. And I am a 15-time international best-selling author, but guess what? I'm going to be in Dr. Sharon's book. I'm writing a chapter from, like, how could you not, right? From cocoon to soar. With that title, you're called to write. Unless you were born an eagle. Now, if you were born an eagle, this book is not for you. Right? If you are an eaglet, this project, this compilation is not for you. But hey, my sis, for you that you went through some slimy periods in your life, you were that beautiful butterfly and you ran back to the cocoon because that was comfortable, or you were that slimy caterpillar and you said, you know what, I don't believe I have to go through the butterfly phase. I'm just going to jump out and be an eagle. If that's you, we want you to join us as a part of this compilation. So yeah, Dr. Sharon, we're speechless. I'm going to read some of the comments just so you can hear it. The time is now, like the Phoenix. This is an on-time session, Dr. Sharon. Excellent indeed. Yes, simple start with our Father, powerful and on time. Thank you. I am in awe of those people today that you knew you needed, who needed this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, Dr. Sharon. All I can say is you tore the house down past the plate. I need to pay tithes on this. That was amazing. And as usual, we just had a heartfelt session. So we're going to do a breakout room. And it's really important because people are hurting. As you can see, there was not a dry eye in the house, including men. Like you should see my text message. So what I'm going to say is we're going to do a break. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to a comic relief because I said put something about you that is not true or could be true in the chat. And so Dr. Joy said, okay, fine. And so did Dr. Angela. And so Dr. Joy says she was raised with goats. So do you guys think that is true or false? Was Dr. Joyce raised with goats? True or false? Put your vote in the chat. I'm sorry, not goats. I apologize. She raised pigs as a child. She raised pigs as a child. True or false for Dr. Joyce Martella? She raised pigs as a child. True or false? True or false? And now we have Dr. Angela. She says she podium at Worlds in triathlon. Okay. All right. So I say true to both of those. I totally believe that Dr. Joyce raised pigs. I believe that Dr. Joyce raised pigs, and I know that Dr. Angela is an athlete by nature. Her DNA is insane. So I say yes to both of those. So Dr. Joyce, Dr. Angela, true or false? Wow. Okay, look at all these truths. Wow.
Dr. Choice, did you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go. Yes, I've raised pigs and goats
Okay.
and chickens.
I knew for sure you'd have chickens.
Yes.
But
One
Dr.
really
Angela.
mean rooster.
Yes, man, the roosters, they're the worst. And then they make the chickens feel like they're all emancipated and stuff.
So
But
Dr.
the
Angela,
pigs-
yours true or false?
Mine is false. My highest positioning at Worlds was 7th place. I never podiumed yet.
Wow.
So I've been 4th American, but never on the podium. Not yet.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
I believe in you.
Thank you. It's coming.
Wow. 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 Thank you, ladies, for sharing. The next voice you will hear will be none other than the Dr. Joyce Martella. And after Dr. Joyce Martella, you're going to hear from Diane Eunice, the publisher of Beyond the Vowels. Dr. Joyce, take it away.
I can't start my video.
I know I'm doing it. One
Oh,
moment.
okay.
You guys, if you can't start your video, I am turning them on and I'm turning them off. So just be patient. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much. I greatly appreciate it. So Dr. Joyce Martella, all the way from Connecticut, PhD. She is an amazing mom, grandmother, wife, leader. And when you hear her story, I'm just here to tell you that you want to book an appointment with her. I'm talking about liberation. I'm talking about true freedom. I'm talking about reinvention at its finest. Without further ado, the next voice you will hear will be none other than the Dr. Joyce Martella. Over to you.
Okay. Well, sometimes it's hard to know exactly where to start. So I'll start with my name, Dr. Joyce Martella, but it wasn't always that way. It took a long journey to get there. And my journey started in the cult that I was raised in, that my mother was the leader of. And my mother was a narcissist, which narcissists make really good cult leaders in that they do a good job keeping everybody in the cult, not that they are good people. And so I was raised in that, and what I came to find out when I finally got out, I didn't know I was in a cult, just so you understand. It wasn't until I left, because there were things I thought were wrong there, that I realized after reading and finding out information that I was indeed in a cult. And it took a lot of healing to get to a place where I am today. And I didn't start that healing right away. I had 2 children, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, when I left the cult. So I was in survival mode and I wasn't in healing mode. I had 2 children to raise. And so that's what I did. And it wasn't until much later, as they started getting older, that I started thinking I needed to address some of these issues. And I remember when I went to the first time I went to a therapist, it was because I was having nightmares about my mother. And I thought, maybe I have some issues I need to deal with. Like light bulb, right? And so I went to this therapist who had no clue about cults, had no clue how to actually work with me. And I remember telling him, listen, it's your job to bring me back when I completely change the subject. That's because you probably hit on something that I needed to work on. But he couldn't do it. And I was constantly saying to him, did you see what I just did there? I was doing my own therapy with him. And I realized early on when I tried to explain to him what I was dealing with my mother, not just being my mother, but being the cult leader, and she was a self-proclaimed prophet. So she spoke directly to God. The issues that I was having trying to deal with that presence of her. And in my dream, I actually went and visited her in prison, and she was behind bars. That told me a lot about where she was in my life. She was behind bars. I couldn't let her out. But I hadn't really processed or dealt with that. So when I talked to him, he didn't get it. He thought that, well, it was like having a Jewish mom. And I'm like, what? And I remember thinking to myself, gee, I would have loved to have a Jewish mom. At least I would have known I was loved. And he didn't get it at all. He didn't understand what I was trying to explain to him. And so I pretty much had to do my own therapy and just used him as someone that I talked to that didn't know my life. And that was about it. So when I went to school to become a counselor and then I got my PhD, I realized that what I had learned and what I had discovered through my own healing of my own trauma, that I could then teach therapists how to work with people who were born and raised in a cult or who had had extensive trauma in their childhood, because it's not just people born and raised in a cult that have this kind of trauma. And so somewhere in my master's thesis, I went from the place of why me to who would I put in my place? Nobody. To aha, I was born to do this work. And at that point, it was like, okay, so if I was born to do this work, then I need to do everything I can to understand what happened to me. And that's what my master's thesis was about. What happens to children who are born and raised in cults? And what I discovered is that their development and their identity formation is hijacked by the cult. So I'll explain to you a little bit what I mean, give you an illustration. So my mother, the cult leader, she had a picture of what she wanted the cult to look like and how she wanted each of us to fit into that picture. So if she said you need to be red or you need to be yellow or you need to be green, that's what you needed to be. And it had no bearing on whether or not your authentic self was maybe pink. That didn't matter. You were given an assignment to be what she told you to be. So you had to suppress your authentic self so far down so it wouldn't accidentally come up and you get punished for actually exhibiting that. You had to suppress it and bury it. And so I remember as a child, all my report cards said, Joyce is doing an excellent job, but she talks too much. And it was like, okay, so I'm a talker, right? And I was told not to speak. One time my mother actually had a sign made and put it around my neck I had to wear. It was cardboard and it had a rope around it. And I had to wear it for a week and it said, do not speak to me. I'm not allowed to speak to you. Because she didn't want me to speak. So I learned how to stop speaking. I learned how to be quiet. I was silenced. I learned how to only speak when I thought I wouldn't be in trouble, only to say the things that I was expected to say. And so it shut down so much of who I was that it took time to come to a place where I started to discover, wow, I'm not even who I am supposed to be. I'm just this facsimile of something I was shaped into, and it doesn't even feel right. It's not even comfortable. And so when I did my dissertation, it was about how do you help people in this situation heal from the trauma, repeated trauma over and over and over again. How do you help them heal? You help them heal first by listening to their story, and then by helping them go on a treasure hunt to find those pieces of their authentic self that they buried so far inside themselves that even they can't find them. And I found that you can do this treasure hunt. You can go find those authentic pieces of yourself that you hid away. And, you know, people hide those authentic pieces of themselves in all kinds of different trauma. It could be relationship trauma. It could be from a domestic violence situation. It could be from an alcoholic parent. It could be any of those situations. But people do find that they will hide those pieces of themselves, but that's not the end of the story. You can go and find them. And for me, it's a treasure hunt because every time I find an authentic piece of myself, I bring it out and I say, woohoo, yay, this is me. I exhibit it, I let it shine. And every time I find myself more free from the abuse, from the trauma, from the life that I was raised in, I find myself freer to be who I believe God intended me to be. So I learned in school, there was a man named James Hillman, and he said that every human being is born with an authentic piece of themselves that's in them. He said it's like the acorn. The acorn has all the genetic makeup that it needs to become the tree. And when we are born, we have all of that inside of ourselves. And normally, children will try on different things and try to do this and try to do that, and they discover that along the way. But when you're in an oppressive environment, you're not allowed to do that, so you don't find those authentic pieces of yourself. And you bury them so you don't get in trouble for it. And so what I found is that, yes, there is a way to heal your trauma. There's a way to find your authentic self. And it's very liberating to find those pieces and to try them on and to develop them. And there is hope in all of that. And for me, healing trauma is not just about healing the wound. Yes, we do need to heal the wounds, but there's a transformation that takes place when you heal your trauma. And it doesn't have to end at just healing the wound. For me, it was about transforming my trauma into strength. And I'll give you an example. So when I was young, every time I would go to my mother for a hug, she would end it by saying, "Get off me, quit hanging on me, leave me alone. Would you just go? Just get away." And I realized that every hug ended in rejection. I would go to my mother for comfort, for love, for acceptance, and I got rejected, sent away, and just every time demolished, just crushed every single time. And I stopped going and asking for hugs. Eventually, finally, I figured it out. I'm not going to get that from her. I need to quit putting myself through that over and over and over again. When I had my daughter, I remember looking at this little perfect baby in my arms. And I remember saying, "I will never push you away when you need a hug. I will never stop the hug first." And as my kids got older and I would hug them, I would hold them and I would hug them. As they got older, they'd go, "Mom, are we done yet?" And I go, "We're done when you're done." But I would never be the one to stop the hug first, because to me, that would have been rejecting. And I could never do that. I would be there and hug as long as they wanted to hug. And when they became teenagers, you get that, "I hate you, Mom. You're the worst mom in the world." And I remember saying, "Okay, go take time out. go to your room. We'll talk about this in a few minutes. Then I'd go back in, I'd talk about whatever the situation was, but it didn't end there. We'd resolve the conflict, but then I would say, okay, now give me a hug, give me a heart to heart. And so a heart to heart is different than just a regular hug, and it's a healing hug. And so they would come in and I'd get the lean in, not the real hug. And then I get the little noodle arms hanging on me. No, 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 that's not it. And I keep saying, nope, nope, you haven't opened your heart. You haven't come in for the real hug. And then you would feel the shift when all of a sudden their heart would open and they'd come in. And now they were hanging on to me tightly. And I would say, do you feel my love? And they would say, yes, do you feel mine? And that's where the healing took place. So from my trauma of rejection from my mother, I learned how to hug and actually heal my trauma in relationship with my children. And then I turned it into a strength which could heal them in their time of need. And so for me, this is so personal about being able to find those golden nuggets of myself and bring them in, because each one of them is a piece of treasure and a piece of my authentic self. And I know that for each person, they can do that too. And there's many reasons why people might bury their authentic self and hide it because they don't want it to be hurt and they don't want to be hurt. But there's so much freedom in finding it and bringing it out, because there are people who will see you and accept you and appreciate you. And when that happens, it is golden. And it's like, okay, all right, I can be myself. I can be who I really was meant to be. And for me, part of that is to help other people, to help people who have gone through that kind of trauma, to help people who have gone through any kind of trauma in their childhood, and to help them find the hope and to heal the wounds, but to transform their trauma into strength, because that's the next step. It doesn't have to stay an open wound. It doesn't have to stay just something that you look at it and you go, oh, that was the most horrible part of my life. Yeah, it may have been horrible, but you don't have to keep looking at it that way, because I don't give my mother the power anymore to say who I am, who I should be, or who I will be. The power is in me to find that and develop that and be that. And I realized after my own kind of fiasco with therapy that therapists needed to understand that, especially dealing with people who were born and raised in cults, there's a lot of things that you do differently. You can't do it just the way you were taught in school, because it's a whole different way of working with someone. And so my goal is to get as many therapists into my training program as I possibly can, to reach and touch as many people who were born and raised in cults, to help them and get them the help that they need. And that starts today, and it has been going on, but I am starting my own school where I will be able to teach therapists. And for me, what I realized is that as one person, I can only touch so many people. I only have so many hours in the day, so many hours in the weeks in the year. But if I can spread the message to therapists, then many therapists will be able to help this population. And that is my goal, and that is my desire. And it's what I believe that I was put on this earth to do. And when I realized that I was born to do this work, that was me finding the gift me finding that gift in the whole chaos and in the mess. And for me, there is no other way for me to go. This is what I was meant to do. It's taken me a while to get here, but all on God's time, not in my time. Yeah, I've had a lot of things that I wish were in my time, but they didn't always turn out that way. But then doors open, and I find myself here with the Global Women Speakers moving forward faster than I ever thought possible. And for me, this is just something that has been on my heart, and I've known that I was supposed to do. And so here I am. And I have, let's see, I do have something to share with you.
Yes. Now we're getting, yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing your story, Dr. Joyce. Those of us who thought of cults as being that far away, mysterious, only seen in movies type of things, because that was myself. And I'm sure when I say this, I'm speaking to the majority. I never met anyone, never knew anyone that was in a cult. And what you share is so enlightening. And it makes me correlate that the true definition of a cult, and not just it being some random group of people that are far away, because there are some cults that are in our neighborhoods. There are cults that are in our police departments. There are cults that are in our university. There are cults that are blatant. They're not covert. They are blatant in our face, and we have no idea what those people are going through. And so your work is needed. I thank you for being obedient and saying yes to your calling, because there are people that are looking for not just a breakthrough, but a breakout. And because of you, I would know for a fact that you leading, guiding, and mentoring therapists to deal with people, that they will be able to identify the signs. They will be able to help, because you can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you've never been, and you can't give what you don't have. And so thank you for putting up your slide. I'm glad that you have something to offer, something to give, and that you're operating in your passion. And if I don't know anything else about you, Dr. Joyce, I know that you 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 were built and made for this. So Dr. Joyce, back over to you.
Yes. And it's like really becoming who God always intended me to be. And I didn't sign up to have a mother who was a cult leader, and nobody would. It's not something you say, "Oh yeah, that's what I want to do." But it shaped me into the person that I am today. And I went through the things that I went through. So I, alone, not with very many people in my position who actually understand that. There are a few other people who've gone through similar things who are trying to help other people, but there's very few of us. And there are a lot of people who are suffering. And I was telling someone that there's one cult, just one cult that I know of, that the last time they had measured the amount of children that were born and raised in that cult, it was 17,000 people. That's just one cult. There's another one that has over probably 20,000 children born and raised in that cult.
Wow.
That's just two cults.
Wow.
And there are many cults. There are small cults, there are medium-sized cults, and there are big cults. And some of them you would know the names of. I don't like to say the names of cults because some of the cults actually go after you if you name them. So I don't name them.
Dr. Joyce, I have a question. Outside of helping people, individuals, families escape from cult, what else psychologically that you can help people with?
Well, when you think about a cult, you think about a very oppressive and abusive situation. So anybody who's in a family who there has been a lot of abuse for children, that could be someone who could use my help because they have endured complex trauma in their childhood, which would result in the same things that I'm talking about. It interrupts their development. It interrupts their identity formation because they're constantly having to tiptoe around the parent or the parents and try to be the good kid or, try to not get hurt, try to not get beat today. There are people who are in other kinds of relationships where you think about a cult and you think about one leader and a lot of people, but I've actually seen cultic situations where there was one person and one individual who they were in a relationship that was had all the markers of a cult. And then there are people who are in different social groups, different countries that they might be in, different religions or just different societies that put those kind of things on people. So you can find the kind of wounding that I'm talking about in many different areas, not just cults. And so I think that there's a lot of people who can get help from their extended trauma in childhood.
Yes, thank you.
And there's people who may have not gone through it as a child, but they got into a relationship maybe when they were young, and in that relationship they lost themselves. And
True. That's
and
fact.
so
Absolutely.
finding themselves again could be something that would be really important.
So, Dr. Joyce,
The difference between someone who's born and raised in this kind of environment and someone who gets into it when they're older is the difference between recovery and discovery.
love that. Somebody dropped that in the chat. Yes, Dr. Joyce, I need you to say that again. Put it on repeat, rewind.
The difference between someone who, let's say, is an adult and they get into a cult or they get
Just the two
into an
words.
abusive
That was a
relationship
1-2 punch. That was a 1-2 punch. The two words. The difference between recovery
and discovery.
and
So
discovery.
recovery is
Yes.
for someone who already has an identity when they get into this kind of relationship. Discovery is for the child who's born and raised in this kind of abusive environment.
Awesome. So how can someone get in contact with you?
Is my
Yes, we can see your, yes, go ahead.
Okay. So workwithdrjoyce.com, and you can find my programs for therapists. You can also find my programs for people who are looking for their own healing. I also have a freebie on there that you can get. And then I also have a ebook on there that helps with someone working to get in touch with their own identity.
Love it. It's in the chat, workwithdrjoyce.com, Facebook, Joyce Martella with 2 L's. And you can even email her. I'm glad she put her email there as well. Email is drjoyce@joycemartella.com. Wow, wow, and wow. Woo! Hearing your story still gives me chill bumps. I want to thank you for showing up, showing out, and letting people know what's possible. What is possible? You are literally, I shared with this before, and it's going to sound ironic to some that are listening, but I call Dr. Joyce the Harriet Tubman of cults. She is freeing them, leading them to freedom and rediscovery. It's really important. I love that. So thank you, Dr. Joyce, for sharing. Woo! Love it.
Thank you.
Love it. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to a panel. Maria is going to ask some questions. We have 2 more speakers left. And one is I gotta say Dr. Diane Eunice is soon to be Dr. Diane Eunice. I'm so proud of her. Man, you guys have no idea. She's been here with Global Women Speakers for almost 2 years now, if not 2 years. And man, she's grown by leaps and bounds. And so it's an honor to have her as a premier member. And Dr. Joyce, thank you for being a premier member of Global Women Speakers. And with that being said, does anyone have any questions, comments? Put it in the chat. It is now 6:30 on the East Coast, 3:30 Eastern. We will close out no matter what in exactly, I want to say 20 minutes because it was supposed to be to 4, but as you know, a Global Women Speaker style, we always have so much value to bring. And the women are so like literally compassionate about other people. They're passionate about their gift and their services and their callings. You know, your career is what you're paid for, but your calling is what you're made for. And fortunately from us, we have women who are called to do this work, and that's why they do it. So we're going to switch reels a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Diane Eunice. Dr. Joyce, thank you, 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 thank you for being here.
And thank you for having me.
Diane Eunice, over
Yes,
to you.
yes. And I want to say another thank you. I want to say another thank you. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for hanging with us this afternoon, this morning, afternoon. It's been a great, great experience. Today, I'm going to speak briefly on loving through the layers and how
I
our
love that title, Loving Through the Layers. And matter of fact, Diane, can you turn your phone horizontal or your screen so it can be full screen? There you go. Excellent. Perfect. We love it. We love it. We love it. Yes.
Right.
Loving Through the Layers. You guys, Diane Eunice is all the way from DC, but she happens to be in San Francisco, Northern California right now. She is a licensed therapist, a licensed sex expert, as well as publisher of Beyond the Vows magazine. And I love that title because most people think you just date, you court, you look cute, you have a wedding, and it's all about the vows. But really what happens, ladies and gentlemen, whether you build roommates or a romance, is what happens after the vows. So Beyond the Vows is amazing. Dr. Joyce said that sounds exciting. So Diane Eunice, take it away.
All right. So loving through the layers, we're going to look at how mental health impacts sex, intimacy, and our relationships. So when we view relationships, we view them often through the lens of, oh, it's so romantic. They're so cute. They're so handsome. Oh my gosh. Oh, the chemistry, we're so compatible. Oh, the sex is just everything. And and that's what, we typically look at relationships at the beginning through. But what about the anxiety? What about the depression or the trauma? These silent focus can shape or sabotage our relationships. Even, some relationships, we have to stop whispering. And that's what we do when it comes to talking about sex. We whisper about it, intimacy, we whisper about it, but we have to stop whispering about these things and speak boldly, and talk about them, because our relationships are really depending on us having these honest, organic, open conversations about mental health and how it impacts these areas of our lives. So I've been a licensed therapist for over 14 years. And I've worked with over 300 couples. It's probably a little bit more now, either married or dating. And one thing that I know for sure is that we bring baggage into our relationships. And one of the things that we bring in as a baggage is mental health. And because of our shame around mental health and the stigma, we are so reluctant to tell, others about it or our partners. But when I'm speaking to people who are dating, and they do struggle with mental health, I often encourage them to, when they see the relationship getting pretty serious, or this may be the person I can spend the rest of my life with, we need to have that honest conversation about your struggles with mental health. Now, sometimes I get the pushback, but if I tell them, they're not going to like me, or they're going to see me in a different light, or they may break up with me. I don't want to seem like I'm weak or be a burden. But at the end of the day, secrets keep us sick. And if we don't have these honest conversations with the person that we see it's getting to be where we're going to get engaged or married, if you don't have the honest conversation about your mental health, what happens is you take that person's choice away. You take that person's choice away. They may not be in a position to handle someone who has mental health issues or mental illness. They may not want to deal with that. But I've been in situations with seeing couples, they've already gotten married and now it's all coming out, especially trauma. Trauma is the big one. So it's so important that you have these honest conversations. Now, if you're with someone and they are saying, okay, I love you anyway. I want to learn. I'm going to go through this with you. If you have someone like that, you have to talk to them about how your mental health actually impacts you, right? They need to know why you're laying on the couch for 2 or 3 days or longer and you can't get up. They need to know why you can't perform everyday duties. They need to know why you're not in the mood for sex and it seems like you're pushing them away. Because when you don't have the conversations or you teach them about your particular mental health issue or illness, to them, it's going to look like you don't appreciate them. They're going to feel like they don't matter. They're going to feel like they're unloved, undervalued. So we have to have these conversations and talk to them about it. So let's talk a little bit about sex. Mental health challenges in this particular area, such as anxiety and depression, can really affect sexual desire, performance and even satisfaction. I have some who have stopped taking their medications because they don't like how it makes them feel. They know that it's going to have an impact on their libido. And so having those conversations can be difficult, but you also have to educate your partner. Hey, I have to take this for my own mental health and well-being. And here's some of the side effects. How can we get through this? How can we work around it? So trauma is something that I talk about all the time. I talk about it because it can also be triggering. I'll give you an example. I was working with a wife and I was working with this couple, and the wife was saying that she talked about her trauma, which let me tell you this, he wasn't aware of the extent of her trauma. That's why we have to have these conversations, right? So she was having difficulties having sex with her husband because of certain smells, certain ways that he may have touched her. They were triggering to her, and it had caused her to have a flashback. And if you know anything about trauma can, in the moment, it can really take you back to the moment that you had the trauma. It's very interesting about how it can have you paralyzed in the moment. And that's what she was having with her husband. So they wouldn't have sex for like months and months and months. So sex, we have to think about it too. It's not just physical. It's also deeply psychological. It makes it hard to be present, to be vulnerable and emotionally attuned during sex. So that's another reason why I'm going to keep emphasizing we have to have these difficult conversations if we're struggling with mental health, because it impacts so many areas of our lives. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something else that can impact, and that's menopause. And the reason I wanted to add this here is because that's a topic that seems to be taboo. We don't talk about it a lot. We know that women, when you get to a certain age, it happens, but it impacts our relationship. If you're having hot flashes, I don't know how many of y'all have had hot flashes, but I can tell you who has had hot flashes. Me. I have woken up in the middle of the night with just a sock on, just one sock. So it really takes hold of your body. It messes with you. Psychologically, some women say it makes them not feel like a woman, like it goes on and on. So can you imagine going through menopause, dealing with a mental health issue and trying to be sexually active and present in a relationship. So this is something that we need to take in consideration. Now, when you think about intimacy, intimacy means, and I tell people, it's into me you see. And that means that's one of the most vulnerable places a person can be with you, when they're in here. And when you feel so emotionally safe and close and connected with them that you allow them in. But if you're battling with like depression or some other mental health or mental illness, this means that you may withdraw or feel that you're not even worthy of love. So it really goes to your self-esteem. Sometimes with mental health and mental illness, it causes us to have low sex esteem. I'll say that again, low sex esteem. That means I'm not feeling good about myself. I don't like how I look. Menopause is another thing. You're going to gain a little weight. You're going to maybe look a little different, right? And so low sex esteem, menopause, I'm having a mental health issues or illness, and I'm still trying to function in this relationship. But the key is going to be when you're having these situations going on in your life and you have a partner, you got to keep that communication open. You got to talk to your partner about what's going on, right? Because it's going to look like you're pushing them away. It's going to look like, I just don't want to be bothered. I don't want to go on date night. I don't want. Can you imagine how that your partner is going to internalize those messages? And then we're creating another issue in the relationship. So when you think about, so if you are feeling unworthy or not loved, if you're managing that and trauma, you're going to fear closeness. We've talked about fear earlier. You may have a fear of being close to someone based on what you've gone through. Another thing that I talk about a lot is our attachment styles. So depending on what your attachment styles, if you have an attachment style of being anxious, then try to put that in the mix with trying to be in a relationship, try to deal with that. You see how it goes? So there's so much that goes into our mental health and how it impacts our relationships with the persons that we love. Now, intimacy requires three things. It requires self-awareness, it requires communication, and it requires openness. And so the very three things that mental health conditions compromise is those things. So mental health, so mental wellness, if we're not taking care of ourselves, there's going to have walls that go up. And when walls go up, then intimacy goes down, right? So when it comes to, I was thinking about unmanaged mental health. So if you're in a relationship and you're not managing your mental health, then it can create these cycles. So cycles of miscommunication, cycles of codependency, cycles of detachment or conflict. Because when you don't feel good about yourself and you're not managing your mental health, you're going to project those things onto your partner. And I'm going to tell you, people talk about love, and love is a beautiful thing. And they ask me, well, what does love really mean? And I tell people that love means, when you are trying to be expecting the best and the highest from each other. And you can't do that when one person is struggling and the other person doesn't know about it or is not as well informed about it, and they don't know how to help. They don't know how to help. So I'm going to always advocate for therapy, where we can have a person talk to each of the, partners about their experience with each other. What's your experience like with your partner? That's something that, couples don't typically do because maybe they just don't want to know the answer. But how is your partner experiencing you when you have these many things that are going on with you? Have open conversations about what it's like to be with me. So love, like I said, it's not just alone. It's not going to always be enough. It's going to require mental and emotional resilience to thrive. And there are four things that I want us to remember when it comes to our relationships. And the first thing I want to remind us about is that the one thing with mental health is that we cannot heal what we refuse to acknowledge. So we can't heal what we refuse to acknowledge. So you have to tell the truth about you to you first. Tell the truth about you to you first. Yes, I struggle with depression. Yes, I struggle with anxiety. Yes, I have bipolar disorder. And you see that I say that we have these things. We are not those things. Because sometimes when you have those diagnoses, you'll be surprised of how many people live up to those, right? I remember I had one of my guys come in, and first time we ever met, and he said, "Hey," and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Diane." He said, "Well, I have bipolar disorder." I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, what's your middle name?" Right? So he led with his diagnoses. And that's sometimes what we do in relationships. Well, I can't have sex all the time because I have depression. Well, I can't do this because I have this diagnosis. Right? So the one thing we have to do first is acknowledge what's going on with us, to ourselves, and then to our partner. Number two, it's our responsibility to manage our mental health. And unfortunately, mental health is, like I mentioned before, it's a baggage. And it's a baggage that we bring into our relationships, which means that's something that we have to deal with. We have to take care of that. We have to go to the therapist. We have to go to take our medication. We have to do the things that we need to do to stay healthy mentally, right? So even though it's our baggage that we bring, if we're in a relationship, our partner, it's not their job to handle it or take care of it, but they could say, "Hey, babe, I can find you a therapist, and I'll be even willing to go too. Or I'll go pick your medications up. Or here's something that I read about depression I thought you might like," right? They can do that for us, but it's our job to take care of, our own mental health, not our partners. That's too much pressure to put on the other person that you love. Number three, the reasons that some people don't really talk about mental health, especially when they're dating or in relationships, is because of shame. Shame is really something that keeps our mental health close to the vest, right? But shame loses its power when it's spoken out loud. Let me say that again. Shame loses its power when it's spoken out loud. And then number four, when I'm working with singles, especially, I always talk to them about choosing someone who is good for your mental health. Choose someone who is good for your nervous system. Someone, when you walk in, it's that they know that something's going on with you, right? And they like, "Come here, let me hold you." "Oh, you don't want to have sex tonight?" "Oh, no, well, let's just cuddle." Get someone who is going to be good for your mental health. That's so very important, because I've also worked with people who have not had any problems with mental health before, other than just, the general, "I'm sad," or "have a little anxiety about this test," or things like that. Those are the typical things about mental health that we all experience. But I've had some people get into relationships where later they developed those, severe depression. They developed mental illness. So you have to be very careful, because of the person that you're with. They just have to be someone that's, able to manage their mental health, and as well as you manage yours, and you guys be a source of support for each other. But I've seen that many times where "I'm happy, I'm in this new relationship, I'm so, oh my goodness," and then all of a sudden you can't get out of bed. all of a sudden you can't do the things that you typically have done. So it's going to be very, very important for somebody who can take care of your mental health, not take care of it, but be there for your mental health and also be good for your nervous system. I won't go into the nervous system because that's another component of mental health that I think we should look at as well. But that's it for what I wanted to share about mental health and relationships and sex. You know, if you're struggling with mental health and you have a partner, you know, talk about it. Number one, do things together. You can go walking together. You can do certain activities to kind of keep you in a positive state. The thing about depression is depression can be very selfish. Depression can keep you from thinking about anything except here, right? But depression and anxiety cannot truly exist with movement. So that's why I always say, if you have a partner, y'all go do something together, move, get out of the house, go walk, get in the sun, do some things, because those two things cannot, depression and anxiety cannot coexist when we're moving, when we're being active, when we are focusing on other things outside of our depression, outside of our anxiety. So my name is Diane Eunice, and I love what I do. I love relationships. Like I said, I've been doing it for 14 years. And so it has been a privilege today to come here and talk about something that is so close to my heart. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free.
We absolutely know that that's to your heart. Diana was delivered like a true expert. And we thank you for sharing your gift, not just with us, but with the world, because we know that it's not going to stop here, what you shared. And because it's a very intimate topic, what I would like to do is I would like to go into breakout rooms. And if there's anyone that's listening to the sound of my voice who have been richly and thoroughly blessed from any of our speakers, make sure you follow them on Instagram, on Facebook. Make sure you click the links, connect with them personally, schedule a call, buy a product, because that's what it's about. No one is being paid to be here. These are women of service. They're phenomenal women that has 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experience pouring into our listeners, pouring into our audience. And that's extremely important for me. As stated, it was from 12 to 4 Pacific, 3 to 7, and that is 3 minutes away. So for those of you who are not on the live, we just thank you for being here. What we want to do is we want to close it out at a timely manner. You've heard from Diane, you've heard from Amy, you've heard from Dr. Sharon, you've heard from Dr. Joyce, you've heard from Dr. Angie already. You heard from Dr. Diane, Dr. Amy, you heard from Dr. Sharon, you heard from Dr. Joyce and Dr. Angie, and they were incredible. We brought it to you in record time. We're going to finish exactly in 2 minutes. The Zoom will be over. But for those of you who are on here live, if you want to join us live just to get into the breakout room to talk with any of our experts, including Dr. Diane. Yes, I call her Dr. Diane, and I'll tell you why in a couple weeks. But with Diane, then come on in. Just go ahead and comment under one of the posts that you see on social media, and we will let you in the room because this is intimate. And we want to protect her licenses. We want to protect, her sharing freely. It's all about making sure that we're doing things decently and in order. And so once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 minutes left. I just want to say thank each and every one of you for showing up and showing out. I want everyone to come on screen. All of our speakers come on screen. We had Maria need to come on screen as well. Excellent. I think we have 2 more. Who are we missing? Dr. Angie we need Dr. Angie to come on screen. Excellent. All righty. There she goes. She's gotten in the car. It's okay, Dr. Angie, if you're in the car, no problem. Take you off for a moment. Don't want you driving. All right. So we have approximately 1 minute left. I want you guys to do a 10-second takeaway that the women of, not the women of Global Women Speakers, like what is it that you would like to leave our audience with so we can end on time? Dr. Sharon, Dr. Diane, Dr. Joyce,
I would say
Maria.
acknowledge any issues that you have, whether it's trauma or mental health. Understand that all the obstacles that are put in your way can be seen as gifts rather than as something that, you just wish would just go away. It's not going to go away. When you identify the things in your life that are obstacles and you change them into gifts, then you can start to heal and then you can transform. And so I think that all of the women who offered something, all are speaking to the same thing in different language.
Love it. Thank you. Rapid fire. Over to you, Maria, Dr. Sharon, and then Diane.
I think what so much value with all of the speakers who shared very personally, authentically today. And so it's just amazing how, how each and every one shared something that touched someone else here today. Because it's things that from a mental health and wellness space, we may not think of every day. But I think these are the conversations that we should have more frequently to help people move through their daily lives in a more effective, more productive way, and that they're not here alone. And I think that's a really big piece is no, you don't have to go through this alone. We have people here, especially with this amazing panel, to help those who need assistance in a particular area of their life. We can't get through life alone. We just can't. And so it's a blessing to be able to have such a powerful group of women who are experts in their area to be able to lend that knowledge and that experience to help people.
Fantastic. Dr. Sharon, Diane, let's take it away.
Be intentional about who you are. Sometimes we don't even know who we are. We know what we do, but we don't know who we are. And I think when we get to know who we are, we get better at what we do. And I think everybody here that shared was clear about that, about knowing who we are, no matter what the transition is and what's happening all around us, just knowing who we are, even in the couples thing, when you know who you are going into a relationship with somebody, not expecting them to make you over, that makes a big difference. Thank you for listening today.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is sometimes people have misconceptions about therapists or people in the clinical space. I've heard them say, "You have problems? You've experienced this or that." But today just showed us and the world that we are clinicians. We operate in that field, but we also are human. And today we showed our humanness to each other and to others, and it was very cleansing. It was very beautiful, and it shows that we don't have to be perfect, but we have to be present with ourselves and others. And it was just a beautiful experience today. And thanks to all the speakers for your vulnerability today and letting us see sides to each other that maybe we hadn't before.
Whew, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Dr. Sharon. Thank you, Maria Newton. Thank you, Dr. Joyce. Thank you, Dr. Angie. Thank you, Amy Coford. And each of you who chimed in, whether you were inside of the Zoom with us, whether you were on YouTube, on Facebook, Facebook groups, or whether you dialed in, we just want to say thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Memorial Day weekend, and this, when we found out that it was going to be held Memorial Day weekend, most people were saying cancel it. And then my spirit and one of my mentors said that's when they need it the most. Wow. And so all I can tell you is that we showed up, we showed out. We're on one accord. Global Women Speakers has 6 core values. Number 1 is charity. And that's exactly what we did today. We gave of ourselves. We didn't ask for anything. Number 1 is charity. Number 2 is culture. It is our culture to be compassionate, to put people first, to make impact over income. It is our culture to support each other and support the women and the men in whom we serve. Number 3 is community. Our community is not like-minded, but like-hearted. And I'm here to tell you that it is a big difference. Number 4 is communication. They just communicated, not just the words that came out of their mouths, but you can hear their passion, their commitment, their contribution. That's what was spoken here today, the hearts and the minds of the women that's a part of Global Women Speakers. Collaboration, as you can see on my Facebook post, we're collaborating with literally 29 different organizations around the world. One of them reached out to us, and we are all going to New York to be awarded and to receive honorary doctorates. That is what true collaboration does. And our last one is cash flow. I am affectionately known as the bottom line queen, and I make zero apologies about wanting to generate income, wanting to create legacy and wealth for not just for now, but for my daughter and my daughter's daughter and my daughter's daughter and my daughter's daughter. If we are thinking that the world is getting worse now, could you imagine 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What kind of world would you like to leave your children in, your grandchildren in? I asked that question, and I know it's confronting, because if you don't leave them a house, they will be homeless. If you don't leave them cash, money, or gold, they will be living to work to make a meal until they pass. And so as we talk about mental health, I believe that mental health is holistic. I believe you can't take care of your mind if you don't take care of your body. I believe you can't take care of your body if your mind is not right. And if your mind and your body is not right, you cannot take care of your money. And so I just want to thank each and every speaker, every attendee, whether you're here personally or you're going to watch the replay. We thank you from the top of our hearts. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I can say this without hesitation, you will be richly blessed. Don't just listen, but I want you to feel this summit. The Mental Health and Wellness Summit, sponsored by Global Women Speakers, was nothing shy of extraordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to take care of yourselves, but also to take care of each other. We need each other more now than ever before. Join us on our tours, whether it's a Talks in Tech. We're coming to a city near you. Join us in New York at the United Nations. Join us in Dubai for GlobalCon. I promise you, we are good for your mental health. With that being said, I am Dr. Tina D. Lewis, and it is a privilege and an honor to serve the ladies that you see before you today. This is our story. We are sticking to it. We love each and every